Alrighty. We should be live. And this is where I pull up chat on my phone and find out that I have, my God, YouTube, please, have audio on my phone still on, and like 5 nested shorts somehow, and I don't remember clicking on any of them.
Oof.
Alrighty. I'm very excited to see how this field shapes up.
Yeah, I feel like there've been I have no idea. Like people might be keeping secrets close to their chest, or they might just all be field testing.
I'm gonna close all my field test related tabs. Just keep us open to. I'm gonna open Escape from Limbo as well.
Yay!
Just
Oh
in
yes, I
pinch.
should. I should always have it open.
Gonna throw this out there. Do you want to do alternating me and you and I start off, or do we want to do 2 and 2?
Geez, let's stay alternating, and you can start
Okay.
off because I'm
Yeah,
second, you're third.
I'm 30. That was why I was like alternating. I start. Seems like
Yeah,
the
we
plan,
are.
the most advisable route. Oh, field test
Yes,
battle
and there was a
pinged.
problem on Escape from Limbo, and this time it wasn't my fault. It's a great feeling.
Wait, what's the problem on Escape from Limbo?
Like in Revolution support, someone pointed out that like one of the old Dune promos has the wrong image, and then
Oh,
I
right,
realized,
right, right.
aha, not my fault. Actually, Cajun's fault this time. Usually, it's my fault.
I'm just glad no one can point the finger to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
When
I
I
have.
chew
I
the
have
wires, nobody can know.
exactly. I'm on. I have Git Bash open, so the moment decks go up, I can update the play rates.
Part of me wants to talk about my deck a little bit in advance because I'm just like
Wow.
really giddy and eager, but I don't know. I kind of like wink nudged at it earlier in my project channel.
Yeah. I have no idea. I'm actually like a little like I'm actually not that confident for Worlds because usually the way I get my decks is I see someone trying something out in League, and then I kind of pick it up and refine it, and when it feels busted to me, that's how I know it's good. But no one's going to be playing Standard in League in April.
Yeah,
They're all going to be playing Pauper Plane Chase or something.
forgot to do my Blue Sky post about this. I am uh, obviously very prepared for tonight. So we're at 20 players. I honestly thought we would struggle to get up to 20 this month just because Eternal Exhibitions, Field Test, first Voyager GP. Like I figured the odds were stacked pretty heavily against us hitting 20 players. So it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Really been loving seeing the format just constantly hitting good numbers.
Yeah. Would love to like get it back up to like the 30-ish it had like
Oh
back in
yeah.
Barrage Expo,
Like
but
if we hit the
20
point
solid.
of getting like 5 round tournaments again, 5 round Swiss, that
Yeah.
that'd
That's 33
probably,
is the cutoff, I think.
yeah, that'd probably like because usually the like 33 plus player tournaments, yes, they go for an extra Swiss round, but that also usually results in a smaller top cut.
Yeah,
Um,
it kind of like the top cut usually the way the math works out. It's like it's usually between 6 and 10.
yeah. So it just kind of like skews favorably where, uh, it doesn't really extend the length of the tournament's like overall runtime too much.
I think
Um,
it extends it a little
it does.
because Swiss rounds always take a lot longer
Yeah,
than top cut rounds.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure. But
I was gonna
it's one
say,
of those nice things where it's just like it gives a little bit more just like room for Swiss is just always a nice feeling. I like the Swiss rounds. The top cut rounds are more spooky.
oh yeah, I mean like I mean you've gone 4-0 into drop top cut a lot.
Yes, exactly. It's
I've done
why
the
I
opposite.
like
I've
Swiss.
got
Top
three.
cut sucks.
I've done 3-1 into win the tournament a lot. I have the opposite.
Yeah.
And actually,
I
I don't have an undefeated tournament yet, except for Curator Cube.
must be nice. I want to, if I remember correctly, were you the one who dealt me my critical loss in Curator's Cube? Because we were both 3-0 and then you beat me. I'm pretty sure that was what
No, no, no.
happened.
Um, no, I wasn't 3-0. I think when I have a pair down. That one was no, yeah, I was 2-1. I dropped second round of the first cube tournament.
I thought in the peasant cube you, because weren't you 4-0 in the peasant cube build?
Yeah, peasant was 4-0-8-0.
Yeah,
I don't think I
I
ran
was
into
gonna
you
say like
during that one.
I thought we played. Now I kind of want to double like scroll through side events and double check.
I mean, you can check. I'll check my videos because I definitely had videos for all those.
Yeah.
I don't think I ran into you in that tournament. Boy, that deck was silly.
Oh my god,
Why did they let me get away
PTM.
with that?
PTM, no, don't tell people to main deck Crucible of the Burning
Main
Sun.
deck the Crucible is a great idea.
No. God,
It's actually just good.
it is. I do think that Crucible of the Burning Sun is like it's probably I would go so far as to say it might be the best graveyard hate card we've had in the format.
Yeah, probably. It does cost 2. You know, 2 is
It,
a
yeah,
was a real
that is
number.
a tangible cost compared to the 1 mana options, but unlike the 1 mana options, which kind of just sit there and you need to like either pick off one thing at a time or you need to just like pull the trigger on one shot, get rid of everything. It just passively says "fuck you," and it says,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
also have some top deck manipulation while you're at it."
The Scry one, Scry one, like Sigiled Starfish is a card that I have not been embarrassed about before.
Absolutely, and this is a sigiled starfish that doesn't die to your board wipes.
Because everyone. I mean, I'm not leaving home without at least 3 copies of that card.
Yeah. This is going to open on the stream
Yeah,
tab.
no.
It is going to open on the stream tab. I misremembered. I went 2-2 last cube. I lost to
It was
All Who
Lee,
Wander and I
Lo-Fi
lost to
Beats, Freeze
Silver.
Flame.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your 4-0.
Why is Electes an uncommon? That I will never understand.
Yeah, Electes sure is a magic card. In the sense that it is a card with the Magic the Gathering rules printed on it, and not by any legal standard.
By the standard of REV, which is the standard I mostly care about these days.
Yeah, same. Alrighty. Just gonna hit refresh to see if we've got a 21st. We do! We have 21!
Yay! We have 4 people watching the stream now. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome in, guys. And gals,
Welcome.
and non-binary pals.
Oh, it's Lee. Of course it's Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, although there are 21 people in this tournament, I think about half of them already have world qualifications, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah, the more qualified for Worlds players in this tournament, the better shot that you might have at making a Worlds qualification run here.
I want someone to get it from 3-1. That would be so funny.
That would be so funny. I want someone to get it from.
We've gotten pretty close.
I want to see someone get it from 2-2 and miss top cut. That'd be such a wild story, especially if they turn that around from 2-2 miss top cut world qualification, because everyone in top cut, everyone with a 3-1 record or better got a world qualification previously, and then the person who
We've
gets
had
that like dead last worlds qualification makes a crazy worlds run afterwards. That'd be an incredible narrative.
I mean, it's like we've gotten down to two qualified in two like possible to get it in Top Cut a couple times. So
Mm-hmm.
zero, one or zero would both be funny.
Yeah. I know it's one of those things where it's like I know logically the pressure is off for a lot of us on having to like dominate the field necessarily and like crush to get to that world to get that JP win. But I'm also still sitting here thinking, man, I really want to improve my breakers against the other +1 people.
Exactly. I gotta be on the play against Lee. I don't know how I'm beating Lee if Lee
Yeah,
gets to be on the play against me.
I'm in the same boat with Nick. So I'm just looking at that like, nope. I think I need to make sure that I can at least have even breakers, so Nyx doesn't just always get to start game one on the play against me. In a perfect world, I could be at the highest seed and nobody would get to be on the play game one against me. But unfortunately, you
Uh-oh.
and Lee have summarily dismantled that possibility for me.
Yeah. Oh god, the last tournament. I know I couldn't commentate it, but I was so close to winning it. I said I misplayed in game three and I misbuilt my sideboard in a pretty significant way. And if I did either of those things differently, I would have won that match.
That was a tough match to watch, and I spent so much of the first part of this like past week just kind of constantly staring at mono black mid range and being like, I don't know if I can beat this. I don't know who can. I was the only one
Yeah.
who beat it last month, and I think the deck that I played is not necessarily viable in this field right now.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, like even last month, I was looking at your deck. I don't. I think you. It was the greediest of the control decks. I think you had a decent matchup, especially if you do early Dark Sun stuff.
Yeah.
But like, to be honest, before the Council nerf, I was just gonna be running deck basically Nyx's deck.
Yeah, me.
I was like, I don't think anything beats this.
I was fully prepared to either run back Nyx's deck with like minor tweaks and alterations to things that I felt like could be tuned up, and otherwise, just not participate in this GP because I have so much else going on this month. And then I settled on a deck that I found in goldfishing, quote unquote goldfishing, playing both sides of the matchup at the same time. I found a deck that actually felt like it was favored into mono black mid range, without just being like the most miserable Draco control in the universe.
To be fair, I don't know if mono black mid range exists anymore without Transcendent Council.
Oh,
Like, there's
for
not a reason to
sure.
be
Which
mono
is
black.
which is why like I think for a lot
It's
of
now
us
blue black mid
that
range or something.
that pre GP patch came and we're all just kind of like, oh well, we're all chickens with our heads cut off. We can try and figure out this meta, but there is not much time, and there are so many other things
It
happening.
simplified my decisions very much.
Yeah. I still feel pretty confident, but definitely my confidence has shaken a little bit with the council nerf. Cuz I was looking to abuse council.
Well, we in about 1 minute, we're gonna see what my plan is against now that Council is no longer here to stop me.
Yeah. We got 21. Can we get
What is Lee? How do I pronounce Lee's new nickname?
I gotta close cockatrice because I was just getting a ping about how it was gonna disconnect me from the server for inactivity.
He's Spanish, right? Oh,
Is-
Orquídea?
I don't know. That is a question for I think Lee to answer because I was also fucking up Lee's name before.
Yes. Okay. It is now 10 on the dot, or it's the top of the hour.
Yep. Now we just
We're
wait
waiting
for
for
the
the-
cue from
Waiting for
Scribble. That's a
Scribble
lock.
has given us the lock.
We are on. Let's see. Are we on 20, 21? Or sorry, are we 21, 22? We are on 21. 21 players.
21. Give him the lock. Come on, let me update these play rates.
I can buy you time to update the play rates while I go over the first deck.
okay. It's okay. It's a fully automated script at this point.
I see Scribble talking. There's the round pairings.
Whee!
Scribble got the buy.
Turn. It's nice to be the TO, I guess.
It pays to be the tournament organizer. And we're going to start with the deck that has the buy. All right. I'm going to remember to clear the waiting on decks text because I am a
very
professional. I am a consummate professional right there. Alrighty. I am already not surprised by the deck that you're on.
Oh, hi, yes.
Yeah. All right. So, kicking us off here, we have Scribble on Bant Solstice, which looks to be a Bant, largely, I'm going to use, just general air quotes. Have I just never seen this card? Huh? I feel like I'm being gaslit. How long has Foreign Frontiers existed?
Yeah, this card's been around. I think you reviewed it.
I don't remember talking about it in any capacity. This looks, like reasonably solid.
Yeah, I'm slightly confused as to what it's doing here, but it seems solid.
I mean, they're usually not going to have many creatures, and against most decks, they're usually not going to have as much life as the opponent. So that's 4 mana, make 4 1/1s, gain 4 life. Anyways, let's talk about the actual bulk of the deck. So this is seemingly like a mostly blue-white control deck, splashing green for Soreus Duplexi. So let's talk about these creatures because they are all high-cost creatures with adventure spells. So everything in the deck is an instant, sorcery, enchantment, or artifact. It just so happens that 15 of those instants and sorceries are also stapled to creatures. So Soreus Duplexi is the green splash here. It is 2 a green and a blue for an instant that draws you 2 cards and lets you put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. While in exile, or if you just top deck it and really want to, it's an 8/8 for 8 that when it attacks makes a land you control a copy of Soreus Duplexi. It's a solid ramp card, I think, that just, ramp hasn't gotten a ton of experimentation in last month, so it didn't really get a ton of time to shine. But it's cool to see it here, and obviously, seemingly Scribble is faithful enough in the power of Soreus Duplexi, in the power of Path of Fortune, for this to be seemingly the primary reason for the green splash, unless there's a land hiding here that really cares. Fort Revelin, yeah, like Fort Revelin, kind of. That's about it. Otherwise, playset of Draconos Magistus gives them an uncounterable cancel on Path of Prudence, while drawing, in air quotes, an 8 mana 6/8 dragon with flying that also can't be countered. Very good against control. 3 copies of Baleanos Cressetus, an 8/8 for 8 that when it attacks returns up to 1 target creature defending player controls to its owner's hand, and is also just an unsummon. Only for opposing creatures, but you're usually never bouncing your own things in this deck anyways. Foreign Frontiers previously made 5 tokens, then got changed because there's only 5, quote, spirits in the art. Only 4 even. Understood.
Weird.
I still don't remember seeing this card. Anyways, Baleanos Cressetus as a 3 of, unsummon with an 8/8 for 8 on the back end. And then full playset of Eltanon the Silent Star. I feel like if last month was the month of... What was last month the month of? What was the card that really rocked the field? Because because Council was only in 1 deck last month.
Nightfall. Nightfall was in
Nightfall.
5 top decks.
Nightfall. Okay, yeah. Nightfall was kind of the card of last month. We've moved to a different color for the board wipe of the month because little spoilers looking ahead. The first 3 decks at the very minimum are all on Eltanon. It's just such a good card right now. So yeah, full playset, X white sorcery, exile all non-land permanents with mana value X or less, and then it is a 10/10 for 10 with flying that silences the opponent until your next turn on cast. That plus it overperformed in field test at 5. I see. Foreign Frontiers was overperforming in field test at its previous numbers. So those adventure creatures are backed up by a playset of Cursory Glances for some more stack interaction alongside Draconos Magistus. Playset of Fateful Ascent for some more board interaction alongside Belianos Cressetus and Eltanon. Playsets of Chart the Cosmos to draw some cards, get a little bit of cantrip value, and get some more mana consistency through the chart tokens. And Foreign Frontiers as a catch-up mechanism against opponents kind of just spiraling their boards out of control and pushing a bunch of damage. This can be 4 mana, make 4 1/1s, gain 4 life in a pinch, which is pretty good. 2 copies each at the bottom here of Orbital Vacuum as some more spot removal, and this is a deck that I think can very comfortably try and find some big things to cast to allow you to cash in Orbital Vacuum for the additional life gain. And 2 copies of Atomic Core, which can be just more token hate in a pinch alongside Eltanon. Can also punish aggro decks by just, building up 1 charge counter or 2 charge counters and then popping a bunch of meaningful creatures from the opponent. And Atomic Core can just build up charge counters to generate more mana to make these top-end adventure creatures much more reasonable to expect to hardcast.
Artifact is a good type to be right now.
Artifact's a pretty good type to be. Gets missed by Fateful Ascent, which is very meaningful. On top of that, this is a 25 lander. We've got pretty healthy land counts starting us off today. 3 islands, 1 forest, 2 plains, alongside playsets of Primal Fissure, Lucent Basin, and Gilded Court. About damn time people started putting respect to Gilded Court's name, and by people, I mean anybody. I feel like it just kind of didn't really exist for its first season back in the format, so it's nice to see it.
This deck has 8 1-mana plays, and 4 of them you really don't play on 1 mana ever anyway. So
yeah, so
you can afford
it has 7 really, because only 3 Belianos Cressetus, and again, like Path of Brilliance not really something you're looking to have to jam on turn 1. So, and even then, like the 3 islands, the playset of white blue duels, the playset of Primal Fissures, there's enough blue sources here. Symeth Observatory untapped on turn 1 and untapped until you play a non-island land. That's enough, I think, to make Belianos Cressetus available on turn 1 when you need it to be. So those playsets alongside 2 copies of Verdant Sanctum, 1 copy of Clearwater Grotto, 1 copy of Symeth Observatory as a nice little utility land here that sometimes is untapped early on, 1 copy of Budding Mire for some solid non-basic land hate in a pinch. Pretty nice. 1 copy of Distant Path as a cycling land, and 1 Fort Revelin as a creature land hiding out here in the mana base. Can also give you some 1/1s whenever it attacks to help gum up the board a little bit.
Oh, I now realize what's going on with this deck.
Yeah?
Every single non-land card in this deck is from Solitaire. That's what's going on. This is a block constructed deck.
Oh my god, it sure is. Scribble.
Including the side. That's why it's like this.
That explains a lot. Bant Solstice. It's Bant Solistaire.
Okay.
All right, understood. Heard. Sideboard includes a playset of Helia Lay Spire for some graveyard hate. I have really been liking Helia Lay Spire in just like pure theory. Think this card is very good. 2 copies of Gorion Lay Spire for artifact and enchantment hate. 3 copies of Omen Mare for some non-creature spell and permanent interaction. The 4th copy of Belianos Cressetus hiding out in the sideboard. 2 copies of Forbidden Treasure for people playing instants and sorceries. I don't know how this interacts with adventure spells. I'm
Not
curious.
the way you want it to.
Not the way you want it to?
Their deck with the same name as the spell.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But 2 copies of Forbidden Treasure for non-adventure spells. And then 3 copies of Grasp of Oblivion, a card I deeply regret missing in my set review, because this card is just good. It's good blue removal.
They make these blue aura-based removal spells good these days.
Yeah. All right. Good to take us away on next deck.
So I was really stressed going to this month. Like, I think this Jeskai battle control deck is really good. I know what I'd change about it to make it better, but I didn't have any good way of beating Transcendent Council with this deck. Like, I'd have to main deck all these Fateful Ascents. I don't really want to do that because they can't hit battles. I'm like, I don't know if I can play this into a format with Transcendent Council. It's like it's good against everything else, but Transcendent Council is the problem. And they nerfed Transcendent Council. So anyways, here's Jeskai battle control again.
Yep.
Starting with the battles, the headliner of this deck is Path of Scales. Lots of decks cannot remove this permanent, and also with the 4-mana draw 3, and also when it gets defeated, you win the game. Now it can't copy battles anymore, but that does not enormously matter. We also have 2 Clash at Mistrit Veil, which is actually removable. Like it can be got by like the good thing with passive scales is like almost nothing removes it. Something removes Clash at Mistrit Veil. It dies to that black green 4-drop that Kumrak always plays. Destroy target non-permanent mono 3 or less.
Meteor Hellion, I believe.
Yeah, Meteor Hellion. Dies to Meteor Hellion. But this can make a bunch of blockers as you're casting non-creature spells, being almost all the cards in your deck. And then very easy to kind of chuck a burn spell at this and just immediately get the burn spell back. Clash at Aura's Cross as 2 Boros. I'm a split 2 Clash at Aura's Cross, 2 Elton on the Silent Star. I do like the inevitability of Clash at Aura's Cross, and there are some things running around the format so big even Elton on can't efficiently deal with them. But Clash, kind of just kind of for flavor thing. Elton on, 2 copies. This thing saved my life in Top Cut last time. It's I think a very strong board wipe. Just the adventure is something you're extremely happy to play, which is good because I intend to hopefully never cast the dragon side of this. Also in the creature slot, we got 2 things that could help defeat battles. Offset Demon as another very difficult to interact with threat. Dodges almost every counterspell in the format. And Ukus Chrysaris, which is an excellent removal spell, pads our life total, especially if we copy with passive scales, can also help defeat passive scales. Also, Ukus Chrysaris usefully dodges Duress, as does Eltonon. Eltonon dodging Duress is a huge deal against black combo decks that would otherwise bring in Duress to stop our hate for them. In the instant slot, we got a smattering of different types of card draw. 2 Discerns, 2 Chart the Cosmos, 1 Stargazing, and 2 Seafloor Treasures. This is my layout from last time. I like having a variety here. A little bit of graveyard synergy for flavor, but not so much that we just die to Crucible. Stargazing is a nice thing to loop when you have passive scales or Clash at Mistrit Veil. Seafloor Treasure is more value, and it goes well with our Overrule Thought. We're going to be targeting ourselves with this. Unfortunately, this is the best quench I have access to. I do want to have a quench over Cursory Glance because there's a lot of very scary 4-drops in this format that I don't want to Cursory Glance. Electronic Countermeasures defeats any of the battles in one go, can be corrupted by an Offset Demon, as well as the 4 or 5 mana battles, and generally deals with medium to large creatures pretty efficiently. And finally, 4 Deafening Clarion in the main deck, because creature decks still scare me, and people are going to bring them every month, no matter how bad they are.
Yeah.
And this mostly clears up most of the creature decks nice and efficiently, and the lifelink mode is not irrelevant. Sometimes you give a giant board of 1/1 soldiers lifelink to put yourself out of terminal impact range. Mana base is normal, except that I have 3 Silent Lakefront, because that's actually my hard counter of choice, is Silent Lakefront. Once you've drawn a bajillion cards with passive scales, you can hold up Silent Lakefront, and that means they don't have any outs anymore. Sideboard has the good old Golden Loom of Silence for battles and combo decks, Primordial Gateway for Envoy of the Fallen, Fateful Ascent for giant creatures and random enchantments, Shock for aggro, Ulfin Skylord for control and midrange, and new placement this week, Sizcall. It's really hard to find a good anti-control sideboard card that's not black, so I'm trying out Sizcall in that slot right now.
Hell yeah. I do have one question, because you did not necessarily mention it, but with Overrule Thought in place of something like, and I'm forgetting its name off the top of my head, the one from Kitsuo that has the Stifle alt mode.
Oh, Death Deflection.
Death Deflection.
There's no relevant targets for Death Deflection.
Well, how much beyond that? How much meaningful? Because I think there are some kind of meaningful targets for Death Deflection. I think they're few and far between right now, unfortunately, but like it can stop an Eltonon cast trigger in a pinch. So if you know that your best removal for Eltonon is sorcery speed, I guess it doesn't really matter if you can't cast spells if you just counter the thing. Never mind. Where I was going with this anyways was that how much did Overrule Thought being a potential win condition through Path of Scales being defeated factor into Overrule Thought being included in the original build?
Basically 0. It's funny,
Okay.
but it's funny, but you don't.
It's an out for the control mirrors, but otherwise like not the most
Yeah,
important thing the card's doing.
unfortunately, as much as I'd love to win the games like that, these designers keep giving me random creatures on my otherwise playable control cards, like the Clashes and Uku's Crusaris. So I never end up in a spot where like I literally have no way of winning the game, but I have 9 cards in hand.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair. All right. For my part, I too spent a lot of the first part of this month bracing myself for a Transcendent Council meta because I thought Transcendent Council looked absolutely insane. I thought to myself, how does anyone beat Transcendent Council? This card just runs the top tables all day, every day. There's no easy way to punch through it. It always outvalues you unless you have like one of this very slim selection of 2 mana instants that can kind of check it, or you're in blue to counterspell it. But the concern that I had was that while you might be able to check Council by itself with those cards, the mono black mid range deck played by Nyx last month was very well positioned, very comfortably positioned to not really care because they had other means of pressuring your resources through duress and other hand attack effects to really just shred apart your options until you really have nothing to deal with a Transcendent Council in the first place. And so I eventually hit a point of feeling, for the most part, like it was a beat 'em or join 'em on mono black mid range. And then I had a thought on the way back from my local card shop earlier this week, which was, Transcendent Council's white black hybrid. What if I play it in a white based deck instead of black? Maybe I finally have my opportunity and my excuse to play Welkin Eviction. And turns out in the like 7 or 8, I think I played like 7 playtest games that afternoon and won 6 of the 7. It was remarkably very good. Turns out when your 4-drop dodges the most commonly played board wipes outside of like Eltanon, yeah, it's going to be pretty good, especially when you can just find it off of your rejuvenation sessions. So, this is a green-white Welkin Eviction rejuvenation session deck. We are on the playset of Welkin Eviction's 3 copies of rejuvenation session, 24 lands, 19 of which are plains in some capacity. I have 4 basic fetches and 1 forest. We'll kind of talk about that first. So I'm on 9 basic plains, 1 basic forest. I think green is important enough. I have 11 cards that really want me to have green at some point. It's important enough I was willing to make the concession of the 1 basic forest. I have 4 basic fetches that can get it if I absolutely need it. Otherwise, I can lean on Hopeful Soul Space to get my green sources. And the only real downside to getting the forest, besides not discounting Welkin Eviction, which once I'm at 6 lands usually isn't a problem anyways, is that it makes Lackey Fate Observatory tapped from that point on if I were to draw and need to play one. But I think that's a small enough downside that I'm willing to swallow that cost. I'm only on 2 stack in Viviplex. I think it looks really awkward in the face of some of the interaction right now. Leveling this up when there are things like Uku's Crusaris running around, I feel is just so ill-advised. But in like more aggressive matchups in particular, I think if I can get the board to start getting stable, then this just gets to start turning the tide for me really aggressively. And then my basics are split between only 2 Primal Fissure, my basic fetches are split between the 2 Primal Fissure and 2 copies of Warpway Rings, because on top of Transcendent Council feeling really good in this deck when I first started experimenting with it, Moonbeam Artisan is actually a pretty big deal.
Your signature card.
Yeah. Goes and gets Warpway Rings, so I can just go draw a quote-unquote draw a basic fetch when I need it, if I just need to keep hitting land drops, and goes and finds either Laystone of Being, which honestly, I'm fine with just finding Laystone of Being and having it just be, okay, cool, I draw something I can cycle for 1 mana. Or, in a pinch, I can try and set up the Laystone of Beings in such a way that I get to actually get the token and get a meaningful sized token out of it. And I can also go find Root Fossil, which I had to re-record my deck tech today after recording it yesterday because I mistakenly said in my first take that this card has fallen out of favor after its first season, and then I realized it won half of the GPs last year. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Root Fossil is still a very good card. Very beneficial here that it is colorless ramp on the front face. So it is something that we can, just develop our white sources and still get meaningful ramp out of this, get meaningful card selection out of the sacrifice mode. And this is value out of the graveyard later on. 2/4 stat line, not amazing into mono black, of course, but does dodge Deafening Clarion, does dodge Ukius Crusaris on their lonesome, so that can be pretty meaningful. And then otherwise, the name of the game was, if everyone's going to be on Deafening Clarions and Nightfalls and Eltonons, then the best thing I can do is play creatures that do not give a shit about getting removed. I am on playsets of both Helia Eulogist and Dawnward Minister, to try and just maximize the card draw that I get, especially in slower matchups. It is very unlikely that the opponent is going to put me below my starting life total, so Eulogist is almost always going to be a cantrip in those matchups. And against aggro, the life gain is sometimes going to be more important anyways. Moonbeam Artisan, of course, I already mentioned, does replace itself when I played it. I'm on 2 copies of Synod of Sanctions. This was sort of an emergency filling a hole left behind by Transcendent Council. I am trying 2 copies of Synods here, but I would not be surprised to find myself boarding it out more often than I actually want to keep it in the main. One of the things I was liking about it in theory, though, was that just in a pinch, it just kills Nightfall tokens pretty comfortably. And in the worst case scenario, this is just either setting the opponent back on tempo a little bit, or giving me a little bit more value by just blinking out one of my own things to, just tee it up for being replayed in a following turn. And then the full playset of Survivors of the New World.
heck yeah.
Because if people are going to be Nightfallen, yeah, sure, go ahead and rip off your Nightfall. I'd like to draw 3 creatures. I'd love to draw more creatures that replace themselves, and I'd love to draw my own 2 copies of Eltonon. I was on 1 originally on the Council build. Cutting the playset of Council bought me room for the 2 Synods, bought me room for 1 additional Eltonon, and bought me room to push over a copy of Dorisha into the main. I think 1 copy of Dorisha feels like I could maybe afford to go on a second, but 3 copies of Rejuvenation Session does help me find her a little more often than if I were just on 2 Dorishas with no real specific ways to find her beyond that. And this thing, like, she survives almost every board wipe we've got right now. Unscathed by all of the important ones, and helps your board just gradually spiral out of control to where all of these dinky 1-power creatures just actually start becoming really meaningful clocks if left unchecked. And even in a worst case scenario, she's swinging for 7 the first turn you get to swing with her. So it's pretty significant in terms of how much she spirals out of control. The one concern I had with Dorisha is that she's really awkward against Eltonon, because Eltonon X's 0 mops up the stratagems, and people are always going to be mopping up the stratagems in addition to clearing other things. But I think ultimately my deck is built in such a way that most of my creatures don't care about board wipes anyways, so I'm not too worried about having the 1 of 5 drop get sniped by an Eltonon X's 7 or X's 5 for 7 mana total. I think at that point, like, losing the stratagems is not the thing that is backbreaking there. And I don't even know if I would necessarily say that's backbreaking for me. Also, I will say in this moment, something I left out of my deck tech, which you all will see tomorrow, is Stack and Viviplex dodges Eltonon's board wipe, even if it's already animated. Non-land permanence. Anyways, that's the main. I've liked a lot of things here. I think Root Fossil looks a little sketchier, specifically without Transcendent Council, because I was liking this especially because it let me get to turn 3 Council. Having Council or Survivors developed on turn 3 was just a lot more power and flexibility. And also I liked Root Fossil because it was just a dinky permanent I could go find and play and just have sit on the board to sack to an opposing Council in a pinch. And also Reborn Lily dodges Transcendent Council, forcing it to be sacrificed because it's a token when you surface it. But I think it'll still be pretty good. The ramp is just really meaningful in a deck like this. And finally, I have thought to just, play the good colorless ramp card in the deck that really desperately needs to hit land drops more often than not. As for sideboard, I've got one each additional copy of Darisha and Eltanon, 3 copies of Fateful Ascent for when I just need hard removal, lots of adventure creatures that are going to demand these Fateful Ascents I'm seeing so far. 2 copies of Sanctum of Repression. I really want to be on more because this is so good with a lot of my early creatures, but it's so awkward in the face of Eltanon, and with Eltanon being my only real way of wiping away a bunch of things at once, I don't want to clip my Sanctum of Repression in the process of trying to have to slow down other things that are happening. Um, and then 3 copies of Helia Leyspire. This, on top of just being good against graveyard decks, I think this just catches so much incidental value against aggro because 5 toughness is a nightmare to punch through. And one of the best ways to punch through this doesn't work because House Fabricated and only going to exile stuff from your graveyard when you don't have a graveyard. 3 copies of Looming Psyhawk to stop a bunch of token nonsense. Just, generally good sideboard card. This was kind of the, like, generalized, I didn't have a specific use for this slot, but I felt like Psyhawk felt right. We'll see if I was wrong to come to that conclusion. And then 2 copies of Virtualized Onomastic. As another sort of speculative slot, there are going to be matchups where I feel like there's specific cards I really need to shut off as soon as possible, and Onomastic lets me shut those cards off. And honestly, there is a part of me that really wants to have at least one game where I get to play Onomastic, name Welkin Eviction, play a 1-mana 7/7 with Flash. We'll see if that
Hell
comes
yeah!
up. I imagine it probably won't, but it will be really funny if it does.
Oh, I want it to happen so bad.
I almost put the Onomastics in main over the Synods for that reason. But I went for the Synods because I felt like they leaned better into just not giving a damn about board wipes and being a little bit better tempo in terms of overall board state.
Okay. It seems like the name of the game right now is who can be the greediest control deck.
Yes.
We've seen 3 different takes on how greedy can we possibly make our control deck.
We've seen 3 different takes on how greedy can an Eltanon deck be, with only one of those decks playing board wipes other than Eltanon.
Yeah. I'm still like respectful of aggro. I got my Deafening Clarions in case someone has the temerity to play creatures, but everyone else is like, it's gonna keep going like this for a few more decks. Everyone's just like, how can I go even further over the top of the other greedy control decks?
Even further
What is
beyond.
aggro? What is aggro? Aggro has no 1-drops I care about. Not true. There's like one 1-drop I care about. Yeah. Speaking of, Nyx is running back Mono Black Villainy, featuring everyone's favorite Mono Black Villainy card, Island. Gonna start with the core of the deck, which is the sorceries. Not true. Our only turn 1 play is 7 pieces of turn 1 hand attack with 4 Promo Duress and 3 Rostabal the Enduring Star. Then we got all the card advantage hits. 4 Night's Whisperer, no past unresolved, but 2 Go Blank and 2 Data Wipe to get around those Onomastics. For the full anti-control card advantage and hand attack special. Once we've ripped apart their hand and getting ourselves in a good spot, we have Nightfall in case there's creatures. Nightfall has really proved itself last month. We have, which one is this? Nuile Exodus as our removal spell of choice. Once we get them down to low resources, hopefully this sacrifice will hit well. And we got the value 4-drops that can take over the game once the dust settles in 3 Lifehacker and 3 Inner Rings Pupil. For more interaction, we got 4 Forced Ejection, more ways of getting card advantage and tempo advantage on the opponent, pairs well with Rostaballs and Duresses. We're actually gone down the freaking Unmaker of Thought discard guy. I'm surprised. That guy was like quite annoying last month. And we have 4 Nether Invocation, 4 mana, draw 2, or draw a card, and then being a creature or planeswalker for a good chunk of damage and gain a good chunk of life. And Nyx is after my own heart. We got the 1 main deck Crucible of the Burning Sun. That is right. I fully respect. If you have no Graveyard Synergies main, which this deck does not, I fully respect main deck Crucible of the Burning Sun. Only 22 lands, which is pretty light for a deck that really does want to play a 4-drop on turn 4. 7 swaps, 5 islands, 4 enigmatic fence, 4 fissures, 0 4 fissures, 0 Temple of Origins. Okay, not sure why that. And 2 Chasm of the Silent Covenant. Why Fissure over Temple of Origin? I'm confused.
If I had to guess, it's probably just for the sake of being able to thin out lands from the deck. I'm not quite sure. Um,
Yeah, just like you do want like you don't
yeah.
want to have to get island and be unable to go like Rasta Ball into duress into
I think the rationale here is finding an island is more valuable for the sake of Chasm of the Silent Covenant being online.
Oh,
But
that is
like,
why. That is why you want an island for Kevin. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
Ooh,
I'm not
we have some
100%
tech
sure about that though, because ultimately, like, yeah, you do put yourself off of Rostabal duress.
and like, this is where we've gotten to the greediness of the meta. Um, last time I would never have. I would have had like this type of deck would have had at least 3 Twilight Ambush main. You gotta respect Dark Sun Migrant. You gotta respect Kutsuni Matrix. This time 0 main, 4 Twilight Ambush in the sideboard in case we run into it. Karaz Lacefire for control. This is why it's important to diversify your threats. 2 Tender Vow Witch. This is the card I was like actually considering bringing in my mono black build. Um, if before Council got nerfed. This thing gains a kind of silly amount of life as you just kind of do your game plan. 2 Forbidden Treasures, kind of. I'm actually quite surprised by Forbidden Treasure over Negate in this matchup. I feel like a lot of the threats you're trying to stop are they don't Forbidden Treasure doesn't actually stop them. Like it can't stop passive scales. Doesn't meaningfully interact with adventure creatures. Take all their nightfalls, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, the other 3 Crucibles, even though they're, by the way, spoiler alert, there's 0 envoys in this meta. Um,
Wow.
no one, everyone's respected it. Good job, everyone. Now you never have to bring in those cards. And 1 Golden Bloom of the Silence for random permanents. Nick's going for the 3-peat here. By this point, I'm not counting Nick's out. I'm scared of Nick's at all times.
Yes, same.
Nick's come to join us at join me and Lee at +4 seeding going into Worlds. Gonna be able to be on the play against me sometime.
That is a terrifying thought. As the only person who's taken a game off of taken a match off of Nyx in both of the last GPs, yeah, no, Nyx terrifies me. They wield a power I can barely comprehend.
Those MSM players, they're like,
Yeah,
they've grown up in a more dangerous environment. I don't know if
yeah.
we're prepared to deal with them.
I feel like, but a wee babe, taking my first steps into a very violent and cruel world, where I get hit by data wipes and go blanks, and I just go, oh, okay.
Main
I
deck
guess
data
I'm
web
not
go
playing.
like absolute
Yeah, like
maliciousness.
not in the sideboard anymore. We're committing to it. Ugh,
Yeah.
horrifying.
Basically, this is the main change of like other than losing council. Basically, all of the aggro stuff got put in the sideboard, and all the anti-control stuff got put in the main.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of concluded that when, like even before Council was gone, that the plan was just going to be a race to the bottom of who can be the greediest, who can be like the most over the top control deck. And I feel like so far everyone both correctly read that that was where we were headed, and also made sure that they had a plan for it while also indulging in it themselves.
Okay,
In our own
let's keep
ways.
going. We got plenty
Yeah.
of decks to talk about.
Magma Dragon is on Intergalactic and Steppery. It looks like this is Green Blue Flash. We've got a bunch of creatures here, 27 in total, and none of them are sorcery speed outside of a singleton 10/10 that you are probably not going to have to worry about casting too often, but it can happen. Curve starts off pretty subtle and humble here at 2 copies of Zymoth Windreader. Jumps up to 2 for playsets of Florizoa and Interstellar Sage. At 3, we've got playsets of Faithline Marshal and Iloris the Pathfinder, as well as Frog of Eternal Gloom. Playset of Iloris is interesting. But yeah, this is like just a solid. This is another one of those things that's just fine into board wipes, because if it gets board wiped, sure, you get a second threat out of it. You get a more meaningful threat, I'd argue, out of it if it gets board wiped. So, 2 copies of Preemption Daemon for some more stack interaction, alongside 2 copies of Omen Mare for similar function. while also picking off some non-creature non-land permanents. And then, of course, the one copy of the 10 mana 10/10 Asulio the Watchful Star, sitting here in place of what could otherwise be a negate. Especially if you're just like a heavy blue deck like this, there is no reason to reach for negate over Asulio right now. Path of Humility is really good and gets to get some, utility non-creature cards from outside the game sometimes. If you somehow hit 10 mana, Faithline Marshal can kind of help you get there. Otherwise, 3 copies each of Discern, Pass Judgment, and Ensorcel, so more stack interaction there, plus a bit of cantrip value from Discern. 24 lands here between playsets of Sodden Path, Primal Fissure, Temple of Origins, Clearwater Grotto, and a 6/2 split of Islands and Forests. I'm surprised by the playset of Sodden Paths, but I guess this is one of the decks that can most get away with just holding up mana to cycle it, because you're never committing to things on your own turn. Hell yeah. Sideboards, a lot of 2-ofs, 2 copies of Astraling, 2 more copies of Asulio, 2 copies of Refusal of the Hollow Gift, which to me seems like it is a mixture of anti-terminal impact by just giving yourself hexproof, and like hand attack out of the black decks, nice data wipe. Anyways, I'll just discard 1 card for a single green mana. And I keep my graveyard for my Interstellar Sages. 2 copies of Dream Snare as a bounce spell that can sometimes cantrip. 2 copies of Advanced Rune and Whisper for a bounce spell that costs 1 and can sometimes generate additional value. And then 1 Golden Bloom of the Silenced for random battles and other permanents. Playset of Grasp of Oblivion, because once again, this is a wicked good, cheap removal spell in a pinch.
Yeah. Well, it's like classic kind of like into control meta. Try to do a threatening thing on their end step, untap, do a threatening thing on your turn. Tons of card advantage. I think Ensorcel is very well placed. You're going to just like pray to God you've got Eloris, Preemption Demon, or Omen Mare when they try to cast their Nightfall.
Yeah.
Or Pass Judgment. Pass Judgment also works.
Yeah. Lots of ways to kind of mess with it on the stack. Alrighty.
Okay. Now, let me tell you how dire the state of aggro has gotten. PTM's on a mid-range deck. PTM is on medium red. Okay, it's mostly an aggregate. It stops at 4. Okay, let's not go crazy. 22 land deck. Starting off on 1s, we got 4 Calamity Cats, and 4 Red Hot Rider. Hell yeah, love to see Red Hot Rider. 4 copies of the new Dark Sun Migrant in case there are blockers. 4 copies of Cash Thrasher, which can help kind of. This deck is meant to keep the engine running a little longer than just a straight kind of get you dead red aggro deck, and Dark Sun Migrant and Cash Thrasher can both help with that. As can 4 copies of Fabricated Anomaly, great with Calamity Cat, and especially Red Hot Rider, which is a 1/1 menace. And 4 Precursor to Calamity, which we actually haven't seen before, I think. But it's a 4-mana 4/4 with haste. And boy, you hope you get a counter on it with Anomaly so it doesn't die to Nightfall. We got 3 Jerichos. Planeswalker is another type that a lot of decks are not super well prepared for right now. And this can, if not removed, generate a lot of card advantage over time. And then while we're kind of playing these creatures, and a lot of these creatures kind of give us cards over time. Red Hot Rider draws cards, Dark Sun draws Card Scratcher draws cards. We're going to hope to draw into 4 Bleeding Out, 4 Terminal Impact, and 3 Advance of Fire and Faith, all burn spells capable of going face, in addition to clearing out various other targets. Mana base is slim, what's that one called? Grip Festivariums, just 4 Carousel Observatories, and 18 Mountains. Sideboard's got 2 Wildfang Cavaliers in case creature combat becomes a relevant thing, 2 Stellar Flares for cheap creatures, 2 Evivivas for people with counterspells, 3 Clicks for tokens, 2 Scathing Remarks for in case someone brought a life gain deck who would do such a thing.
Tugging at my collar.
1 Darkstar Severance as a kind of sideways threat that they're not going to have a good answer for, and 3 Golden Bloom of the Silence for various annoying artifacts, enchantments, battles, and planeswalkers.
PTM is saying in chat, the deck looks like a truly unreasonable number of cards by aggro standards. And certainly, yeah, between Red Hot Rider, Dark Sun Migrant, Cash Thrasher, Fabricated Anomaly, Jericho, like that's, and Carousel Observatory, that is a lot of dig.
Oh yeah.
to definitely keep the gas flowing. So that can definitely do a lot of help there. And I will say, you
I love.
mentioned hopefully get counter on precursor from fabricated anomaly so it doesn't die to nightfall. Another thing that Calamity Cat's actually pretty good at.
Oh, I mean, it already has haste, so you're like slightly sad.
Yeah, but I think tapping Calamity Cat for this to deal one less damage in combat and move one damage over to precursor, which has menace and haste and wither, is pretty good.
I love
Um,
where we've ended up in this format. Where like, man, a 5/5 is significantly bigger than a 4/4, and a 6/6 is significantly bigger than a
yeah,
5/5.
yeah,
It's like the big creatures do actually matter. Like a 5/5 with a 5/5 or 6 is a really big care about threat.
yeah. This looks like a hell matchup for me, and I'm not looking forward to potentially running into it.
Scathing remarks, scathing remarks. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, not even just scathing remarks. Again, precursor to Calamity just shuts off life gain on its own as
Oh,
well.
she's in the main deck. Good on
Yeah,
you, PTM. I love Advance of Fire and Faith is like a difficult to remove permanent that corrupts Red Hot Rider. That's fun.
yeah, that's a really, really cool little detail there. Alrighty.
That's the thing. You know what? I think PTM is in fact already qualified. But I hope PTM had a good day. Aggro's had a rough
Yeah.
year.
PTM also noted that cat activation on anomaly into swing with anomaly, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, also just gets 5 toughness on fabricated anomaly.
Yay!
Yippee!
This is why I have Clashette freaking Aurith Cross.
This is why my board wipe of choice is Eltanon.
Also true. Oh yeah, Eltanon. Oh, come on, PTM. Get ahead of those Eltanons. I believe in you.
This is what Root Fossil is for, is to make sure I can do Eltanon X's4 much sooner than I should be able to.
Get her dead. Come on, you can do it, PTM. I believe in you.
No! Well, it's got to go both ways. Get Chip dead too. If I die, then you die too, and Nyx gets to start closing the gap on you.
Oh, look, someone else is carrying the torch for creatures.
Yeah,
What's coming up next?
for sure. Up next, we've got cat and trees. Things you'd find in a Boros deck box, but you've lost your cat and your bird and your elk to the endless expanse of time. This looks like it is a red-white tokens deck. Playsets of each of Kitsune Matriarch, Radiant Pilgrim, Skyray Tender, and Fabricated Anomaly for the creature suite, alongside playsets of Ragtag Squad, Ruins Awaken, Sparks of Revolution, and yep, that's about it for creature token generation. Playsets of each of those for more tokens to spit out for Matriarch, for Pilgrim, for the Skyray Tender, and for the Anomaly to really go crazy with. The Anomaly in particular, really great with these with these small tokens to really help them go pretty crazy, especially when there's also a playset of Consume the Divines and 2 copies of Casus Belli to kind of provide additional Anthem effects here, and then a playset of Terminal Impacts to go over the top. This is more the speed of aggro that we've seen in recent memory. These white-based token decks that really just try to go as wide as possible. This is the kind of thing that Eltanon eats for breakfast.
Yeah, that is in fact the problem with trying to do this right now.
But this is a deck that can absolutely just go under Eltanon. So I think, Eltanon decks are going to really be happy to run into this matchup, but don't put your guard down. This is absolutely the kind of deck that can just run you over. For mana base, playset of Torrid Paths, because the first couple turns are the most important anyways. Playset of Windbeaten Stones, as well as Temple of Origins and Primal Fissure. And 1 mountain to 5 plains, which I think makes sense. A lot of the early plays here are basically white. The only reason you really need red on turn 1 would be for Sparks of Revolution. So all but like 5 of your lands being able to cast Sparks is really good compared to all but 1 of your lands being able to cast Matriarch or Pilgrim on turn 1 is pretty meaningful. The big
deck actually has more red sources than it needs.
Yeah. The big absence, I feel, is the 2-mana battle that spits out tokens. But I guess in this meta, you really just don't have time to put damage on that. Because if we're talking about decks that fold to Eltanon, being all in on that battle and trying to defeat it so you can spiral your board out of control harder, does kind of just waste time.
Yeah, Judge should be less important than the other 3 dragon fodders we have access to.
Yeah. And I think that's relatively fair. You know, Sky Ray Tender is a really good dragon fodder because flying token is a big deal. Ruins Awaken is a big deal because it's a third token in a pinch. And then Ragtag Squad is a big deal because token with haste, token with trample. When you're scaling stats really hard, that is a pretty big deal. Sideboard is a playset of virtualized onomastic. Oh, please name Welkin Eviction.
Yeah,
Playset
this
of
is your planning as Nightfall.
Yep. This is how you beat Nightfall. This is how you beat Eltanon. This is how you beat Deafening Clarion. But you really need that to be coupled with ways to punch through those tokens, of course, because the players can just get a sizable blocker out of it. Maybe matters, maybe doesn't. Playset of Shocks for aggro matchups. Playset of Doctrine of Cleansing Flames as another Dragon's Fodder that can also spit out artifact removal in a pinch. And then 3 Crucible of the Burning Suns because who's going to come without Graveyard Hate? PTM says, this deck is why I have Click. I will say, I am liking Click less and less as time goes on because while I think Click is very good in a vacuum, I think more people need to be on Atomic Core in comparison. Because both happen on turn 3 at the earliest, but Core can just do other things beyond just be an on-board face-up board wipe, and you can also just have Core in hand and then immediately play it and cash it in to clear the tokens if you need to, which is just really nice.
Click is faster if you need X equals 1, I think is the main difference. Which sometimes you do need.
That's fair, yeah, because you can do X is 1 on turn 3, which is much more than can be said for Atomic Core. I just don't love having to commit to Click and then wait for a turn cycle just to miss out on it, or just like open up my anti token stuff to a Doctrine of Cleansing Flames out of the sideboard.
Yeah, Click is very fair.
Yep. Alrighty. More
control.
Oh, hello. This looks very similar to something we've already seen.
Green, white, blue. I've been told this is a control deck. I guess you could call it the control deck. This is 20. It's got 25 lands, including 2 Stilamon districts and 3 Sodden Path. So we have very good mana in exchange for a little bit of tap lands. This is an Interstellar Sage deck. It has only cards with flash and/or instants. So it operates entirely at instant speed. We have 4 Faithline Marshal and 4 Frog of Eternal Gloom and 2 Flying Visionary as 3 mana creature threats. That of course you can get back with Interstellar Sage. And we have 3 Thorea's Duplexy for a 4 mana card draw and ramp spell. And topping out our finisher is Sylvia the Revenova, a card which I think is actually pretty well positioned right now. A lot of our important creature removal and our answers right now do not hit planeswalkers. So this can sneak in at interesting times. 4 card advantage is 4 Discern. Yep. And for removal and answers, we have 4 Ensorcel and 4 Cursory Glance. Both Ensorcel particularly, I think, is very well positioned. And Fateful Ascent is our creature answer of choice. Who needs small removal for cheap things? Only removal for big things.
Is also removal for planeswalkers, which you mentioned kind of a very narrow selection to hit it. Surprised we've seen 0 copies of Sovereign's Extinction or Sovereign's Execution so far.
Well, to be fair, we've only seen 1 deck with Swamp, but yeah. Sovereign just felt like, despite like being super powerful, it's not felt like enormously like the card you want in a lot of matchups.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Fateful Ascent has felt really amazing, and it's really, I think, the enchantment rider that might push Ascent over Sovereigns in a lot of cases. I will say, I am forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, but when Transcendent Council was ruling the world, one of the things that I was looking at maybe doing as an upgrade to the mono black mid-range deck was looking at the 1 black instant that destroys target creature or planeswalker, then its controller sacrifices a token, so that way you could pick off an opposing council and a Nightfall token.
Outlive Youthfulness. I think that is funny, but probably not good.
Funny, probably not good. Doesn't need to matter at this point, but commentary on like Sovereign's Execution only goes so far. Like I was looking at things going up a step on the curve just because I was so desperate for things that felt like they'd be decent against black.
Yeah, this is as always like into the kind of like taking an alternate approach. This is a less greedy control deck. Doesn't have as much card advantage, as much big answers, but it's hoping that it can get kind of a little tempo advantage in the control matchups with these flash threats, especially Faithline Marshall.
Yeah.
And Ramp, of course, always good in control matchups. Sideboard's got 3 Looming Psyhawks, 3 Omen Mares for Looming Psyhawk for token decks, Omen Mare for control mirrors, Eltonons for Eltonon Sings, Golden Bloom of the Silence for permanents, Crucibles for graveyard, and Clash at Aura's Cross for people trying to play big creatures.
Hell yeah.
This is
Alrighty,
this is a
Caillou.
very Zanky deck. Boy, Zanky loves playing decks that look like this.
Yeah, this is so zangy. It's not the
But
most zangy deck to ever exist because I noticed that there are fewer planes than other lands, and there's also no Fall of Volantins. But then again, that'd be cheating. So
yeah, no board wipes main at all.
yeah, I feel like it's a pretty
Apart
profound
from Minus
statement, and
Sylvia, I guess.
and
Minus
so
Sylvia
far,
board
with
wipe.
the exceptions of Cat and Tree and PTM, like a lot of decks look like they don't really care to be board wiped. I'm the next most creature dense deck, I think, and my deck is explicitly built to punish board wipes. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I will say this as a person who's on an extremely greedy control, like if an aggro player could punish up for being like obscenely greedy and putting all our removal in the sideboard, that'd be awesome. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna happen. That's why I'm on this deck, but it'd be awesome.
All right. Moving on, we've got another Eltonon deck. This one is Caillou's Best of Both Worlds. This looks like it is building itself as a hybrid of battle control and a little bit of a dragons package with Iviana Dragon Tamer. Once again, Planeswalker's a little bit of a tricky card type to deal with right now. So 3 copies of Offset Daemon, 4 Ukus Crusaris, much like your build of Battle Control, but 3 copies of Eltonon in the main, and a 4th over in the sideboard. And we're going to talk about that sideboard right now, or at least a part of it, because 3 copies of Iviana Dragon Tamer gives those dragons haste in Ward 2, and can uptick to remove some things, or downtick to go wish one of those dragons to your hand and create 2 treasures. Making those treasures makes it much easier to go play some of these dragons out of the sideboard, so you can hold up mana for Asulio the Watchful Stars adventure off of an Iviana downtick. Go find Eltonon in a pinch to just have it for a future turn, or pull the trigger on it right away if you have some additional mana besides the treasures from Iviana. 1 Draconis Magistus, so if you have 1 untapped land, you can just go fetch a counterspell and have a face-up counterspell for your opponent to suffer through. And then 1 Garation the Stormlord, which I have really actually been liking in the context of Iviana and all of these adventure dragons, because it's just really efficient at both, free casting something important from your hand, as well as just, dropping a giant dragon from your hand if you've got one in hand. And that can be very meaningful to just, combo Garation into Eltonon, pass turn. Or not even necessarily pass turn. If you get to go Iviana into untap Garation Eltonon, that's 16 damage, flying haste, ward 2, you can't cast spells on your next turn. That murders people.
Mm-hmm.
Moving back to the main before we talk about the rest of the sideboard, there is 2 copies of Thistral Charm as another way to sort of chip away battles with some more flexibility. Counter target non-creature permanent spell, getting to do much the same thing as Ensorcel is doing. I guess more so the thing that Omen Mare is doing. And making it a copy of a token you control in a pinch can be meaningful, specifically by way of making another Overflow token if you want to kind of tee up an Offset Daemon return. Playset of Overrule Thought, of course, as the stack interaction of choice. Playset of Seafloor Treasures, just to get a little more graveyard value, and as seemingly one of the card selection tools of choice. 3 Unravel Thoughts as more stack interaction there, while also having some more flexibility. 3 Electronic Countermeasures to remove things in clear battles. 1 Stargazing, because of course this is really good with Pathoscales, and also just, kind of good for selecting cards in a pinch. And then 3 Path of Scales, 2 Clash at Orith Cross, no Clash at Mistrit Vale. Mana base is 1 mountain, 2 plains, 3 Primal Fissure, 3 island, 3 Silent Lakefront, of course, more hard counterspells in the land base when you start really getting to all of your land drops, drawing all your cards. Playsets of Misty Peak, Windbeaten Stones, 3 Lucent Basin, and 2 Rousing Path. The sideboard, besides those 4 Wish slots, is 2 copies of Jetstream Cruiser as the anti-control creature of choice, 3 copies of Terminal Impact as some additional reach over the top, or as just in a pinch as some cheap removal for 1 or 2 toughness creatures. 3 Deafening Clarion, board wipe in the sideboard because Clash at Orith Cross and Eltanon kind of just cover enough ground on their own that maybe Clarion isn't needed in the main. And then 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun because we've talked about how good Graveyard Hate can be in general. And of course, one thing that's good about Crucible is that you don't need it to just be Graveyard Hate. It can also just be a scry engine.
Yep. Now you may wonder why. Boy, I've seen literally every deck I think has had Crucible in the sideboard so far, except for me. But like, boy, there's been a lot of Graveyard Hate. If only there was someone who could make us feel better about running Graveyard Hate when there's no envoys. Oh hi, it's Ricky Rister on Black Red Reanimator. This is good. We're going back to the Reanimator well. We've lost some stuff with Oldun, but Reanimator keeps reanimating. We are on the Reanimator plan. We have 3 Privilege Escalation as the card we really want to reanimate, and 4 Reclaim the Fallen as the main way of reanimating, only way of reanimating it. In a pinch, we could discard a Nuile Exodus and reanimate that, or even if we're really desperate, a Threadripper. Threadripper is also one of our removal spells, but really Privilege Escalation is the main goal here. In order to discard that, we got 4 Ignited Soul and 4 Rooftop Slink as 1-drops that can put the stuff into the graveyard if we need it, as good discarding our reanimation targets, and also Reclaim the Fallen, so we have plenty of stuff willing to throw away to these. Fabricated Anomaly is another good discard outlet that works well with these evasive small creatures. Festered Effluvium is a nice kind of a Ricky Rister signature piece of value in this deck that wants to fill its graveyard, that also gives you kind of like outs, kind of to have giant top decks no matter what. Terminal Impact can use that Festered Effluvium mana or just be good removal. Coordinated Shot can make use of these 1-drops after they've outlived their welcome. Good thing to discard and more removal. And Shigana Mana Burns ramps into Reclaim the Fallen, also a discard outlet. Also helps find useful things. This deck has lost Audacious Rough Rider, which I know Ricky was quite torn up about, but Anomaly is a reasonable substitute. Apart from that, we are playing 1 Nuile Exodus and 0 other Solastair cards, so it's basically just what we had last season. The mana base is normal with 1 Heap Ludicon as the only value land, only 1 Primal Fissure because the mana requirements are not that severe, except from 4. Really, only 1 Primal Fish, 7 mountains in your Reclaim the Fallen deck? That seems a little ambitious, but okay. There's no way. That's 18 sources. 18 is not enough for 1 black.
I've noticed Ricky does not seem super keen on playing the basic fetches. Okay. At least in the Black-Red Reanimator builds, because if I remember correctly, there were very few of these. There were none of these in the versions last season.
Yeah.
Sideboard and temples.
The sideboard is transformative, as you can see by these 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun. If the opponent looks like they have Graveyard Hate, or they're doing more with the graveyard than we are, we will bring in 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun. We'll take out all of the Reanimator stuff and just play 4 Exorcist of Errors, 4 Competitive Hedonist, 1 Life Hacker, 3 Entering People, and maybe a Creation's Combustion, also a useful removal spell. Yeah, all of this seems like transformative sideboard stuff rather than like 4 specific matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hedonist is like a card we don't see an enormous amount, but it seems like just a solid mid-range threat if that's what you're going into post-board.
Yeah, it just gets the job done. So, all right. Next, we've got Epids. Blame Nyx for what's about to happen. This is an Esper control deck. This seems to be the Esper Arcane Laboratory deck that there were some murmurs about. So this is a deck built around Perils of Eternity and Waygate Bulwark, locking each player into 1 spell each turn. And then coupling that with Sanctuary of Fragile Unity and Pact Beyond Death to pad out the life total and draw an absolute ton of cards with the knowledge that the opponent just kind of can't really do anything through these Arcane Lab effects, because if they can only cast one spell each turn, you can have interaction for the spells they're casting. So there's the 4 perils, the 3 Waygate bulwarks, the 4 sanctuaries of fragile unity, the 4 pacts beyond death. As far as the interaction options go, there's 2 looming Psyhawks to shut down token generation, 3 preemption demon as board and stack interactions, a lot of flexibility, and returning the spell to exile opponent being able to play it for 3 is not that big of a deal when they can only play 1 spell each turn. Playset of Fateful Ascent and of Unravel Thoughts for some board interaction and stack interaction, respectively. Once again, with Unravel Thoughts, bouncing a non-land permanent is pretty meaningful when you can just, make that the only spell that your opponent played in their turn. And then 2 copies of Swift Reproach, because them drawing a card is not that big of a deal. Sanctuary of Fragile Unity is one of the primary win conditions here through just decking your opponent before you deck out yourself. Seemingly, anyways. And then there's also some Planeswalkers in here. 2 copies of Tameo Sunseeking definitely catches me a bit by surprise. Haven't seen this one played yet, but this is going to be able to potentially get you a lot of value through your Perils of Eternity and Waygate Bulwark. And nice thing about Planeswalkers that Perils does not punish you for playing Planeswalkers, so you can play, say a Tameo just X is 1 for 3 mana. And then run out something like a Pact Beyond Death and, sit pretty comfortably. And then 3 copies of Casimirs as one of the big finishers here. I mentioned that, just decking the opponent is a pretty real plan, but Casimirs can absolutely escalate that problem because it's not impossible to have 5 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. There are 7 in this deck thanks to battles and planeswalkers and all of the other goodies. So at the end step can pretty reliably try and hope to flip Casimirs, at which point that -6, exile top X cards of each opponent's library or X number of cards in your graveyard. If you have been drawn both yourself and your opponent up to full hands consistently with Sanctuary of Fragile Unity, this can absolutely delete the rest of the opponent's deck pretty comfortably, and has some really annoying loyalty abilities on both the front and back sides in the meantime. So yeah, this looks like a pretty nasty prison-style deck. Mana Base has 2 Silent Lakefronts, counter spells that don't even trip the Arcane Labs, playset of Primal Fissure, 3 each Island and Plains, and 1 Swamp, playset of Lucent Basins and 2 of each of the Black X Shocklands, and then a singleton copy of Chasm of the Silent Covenant. Moving on to sideboard, there's 2 Karaz Allay Spires to strip away meaningful hate pieces your opponents might board in after game 1. 3 copies of Negate for all of the control decks running around right now. 3 copies of Nightfall as a solid anti-aggro tool. 2 copies of Vow's Reflection, which I did see some murmurs about, and we do see 1 Forest here as well. From the sound of things, the game plan against control matchups can genuinely be board in Forest, Vow's Reflection, Karaz Lay Spire, and have the plan be bounce Karaz Lay Spire with Vow's Reflection, and then systematically remove every spell out of your opponent's deck and hand, which seems also especially rude.
Also, another lock. If you have Perils or Waygate, and then you have Vow's Reflection and Preemption Demon, you can have Preemption Demon every turn for the 1 spell they're allowed to cast each turn.
Absolutely. You do need to find a way to offset the fact that Vow's Reflection is going to be drawing you cards to dig through all of that. But, I mean, at a certain point, you're going to find Casimirs, and then you have your solution to the late game.
You can kill them with 1. You can kill them with 1 of Chasm. I believe in you.
Yeah, that too. There's 3 copies of Crucible of the Burning Sun, because of course there are, and then 1 Gilded Court to help out that Forest with trying to make green mana for Vow's Reflection. That is Nyx terrifies me.
What?
Because this is a deck that Nyx was talking about brewing in GP chat, in general chat, and I have to assume Epid asked Nyx for this list, and yeah, this is frightening.
Everything is scary. Everything is scary these days.
Everything's scary these days. I think, obviously we can't write off Nyx, but Epid is a very skilled pilot, and this is a deck built by our most recent monster of the format. So I'm frightened by this.
I love this format. We have like eras of dominance. There was the Chipmunk
Absolutely.
era, and there was a Ricky Rister era, and there was a Lee era in there, and now there's a Nyx era.
Yup.
Good narrative.
It is a strong narrative. And I kind of just like weaseled my way in right before your era.
Yeah, you and Caillou are like players. Like the ELO says that you've had very strong seasons. It's just like the narratively you haven't won enough things in those time periods to be like an era.
Yeah. I'm very rarely the bride, always the bridesmaid. Sometimes not even the bridesmaid. Sometimes I'm just like a friend who was invited to the wedding.
All right, you get good food for everybody. Crush Castles is on. I think is this exactly the same deck they had uh last
It
time?
might be.
Or is it
Were they
similar?
on 3 magical leaves? I think they were on
They
3
were
last
they were
time.
on some number of magical leaves.
I think they were on 3 last time.
Oh, it's not exactly the same. I have their previous deck open now. They were on Ruins Awaken before. Now they're on Advance of the Sainted March. They're down one complementarity and +1 land. Other than that, identical. Green white tokens deck. Um, Melon as a 1-drop. Resolute Reinforcements. Uh, Advance of the Sainted March as 2 mana, make 2 1/1s. Uh, Magical Leaves as 3 mana, make 2 1/1s, along with Faithline Marshal. And main deck 4 of Looming Psyhawk. And main deck 4 of Commander of the Bow, so a lot of threes, hoping to get the board wide enough that we can cast big complementarities, and hoping to buff up the board with Honesty, which is the main way this deck is going to get enough power on the battlefield to kill the opponent. Fateful Ascent, main deck removal, pretty straightforward game plan and layout here. With oh no, wait, they're down a land. They used to have 22 lands, now they have 21.
Yes, and up a complementarity.
Up a complementarity. That's okay, sure. Uh, 4 and the mana base is no shock land, only fast lands.
Yeah.
Sideboard has not changed either. 3 Route Navigator for I was about to say Foes Unfed, but that card doesn't exist anymore. For various other searching things, I guess. 3 Plasma Strike for aggro, 3 Renounce the Worldly for artifacts and enchantments, 3 Constrict for the enter trigger on Path of enter triggers on various battles, I guess. Uh, and 3 Lunate Charm as graveyard hate and anti-removal and anti-big creature. Actually, Lunate Charm is actually a card I think actually does have a decently good position in the meta right now.
Yeah, one of the things that I was finding in my constant fretting of how do you beat Transcendent Council, Lunate Charm was one of the most positive cards that I walked away from, where I was just like, this actually isn't awful. Worst case scenario, it's it's a protection spell, or it's how you win your control matchups by just doing the Elixir of Immortality thing. But it's also just a pretty reasonable removal spell when people are going tall.
Yeah, Crush actually managed to bring like the previous iteration of this deck to round 4 of the Swiss.
Yeah, just narrowly knocked out a top cut too.
Yeah. Okay. It was kind of a massacre, but got close in terms of like game counts.
I thought they went 2-2 overall.
They got to 2-1, but their match 4 was against me, and I had
Yes.
7 main deck board wipes.
Yeah, so that was not happening.
Yeah. But yes, wishing Crush best of luck.
Yeah.
Why is Kumrak's deck look like this?
I don't know. I feel like Kumrak's deck specifically always looks like this. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Kumrak is on Golgari midrange because that has become their archetypal deck, and who can blame them? It works out really well every time, pretty much.
Oh, it's essentially Umbral Bargain. That's why the deck.
Oh.
There's Umbral Bargain in the main and side, which is too long to put in 2 columns.
That's interesting. So it's not always like this. My brain is playing tricks on me. I feel like I remember we do see like 1 column decks more often. I feel like I remember seeing one last month, but yeah. So this is, of course, Golgari Midrange, deck that Kumrock is very well known for. Playsets of Huskforger Acolyte, Exorcist of Errors, Blight Stalker, and Life Hacker, alongside 3 Meteor Hellions and 1 Femeros Redeemer. Femeros Redeemer getting to now also reanimate Selise Syndicate Pariah, so you can turn 4 Selise, exile half of your opponent's hand, cast her in immediately, and then turn 5, rebuy Selise, pay 4 life, and get another Selise in play to either shred your opponent's hand again, or just start upticking and drawing you cards. Instants are split between 3 Twilight Ambush, and finally it has made an appearance, 3 copies of Sovereign's Execution. 1 go blank in the main, 3 receives, and 2 advance of the Umbral Bargain as the targeted pinpoint hand attack of choice. Land base is up to 25 lands, 3 Primal Fissures, 4 Profane Groves, 2 Heap Ludicons as potential threats alongside 2 Gallowsprout Timbers, a playset of Temple of Origins, 7 Swamps, and 3 Forests. Sideboard is the final copy of Selise. Looks like it's a really well-positioned card into such a controlling field. The final copy of Twilight Ambush, as well as 2 ofs of a whole bunch. That's 2 Dulcairn Charms for cheap interactive tools, and also just a bit of life total padding or a bit of reach against slower decks. 2 Duress for some of these controlling decks. I have not loved where Duress is positioned with how much adventure creatures have started to see a lot more prominence, but Duress still does a lot of work in a lot of matchups. 2 more Go Blanks for just controlling matchups and graveyard centric matchups where this can do multiple things at once. 2 Beholds for some long-term card draw value, really exciting here. 2 more copies of Advance of the Umbral Bargain for when more hand attack is needed, and 3 copies of Culling Ritual because it may not be super prominent, but aggro is still absolutely a thing, and the token decks are going to hate it.
Oh yeah. Kumrak is doing Kumrak things. You can tell this is like a highly refined thing. There's lots of 3s and 1s and 2s of specific cards for specific reasons.
Yeah. I think the Selise is like the big new innovation, and I really respect it right now.
Oh yeah, Selise has beaten up some of my control decks, which can the control deck beat Kumrak is definitely a bellwether I always try to think about.
Yeah.
Tremor has half this deck is Solastair. This is Jeskai control. Okay, well boy, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Okay. Jeskai control. With a lot of interesting 1-ofs and 2-ofs and interesting. Okay. 1-of Asterling, there are no green sources. This costs quad blue in this deck. As control killer. 1-of main deck, Nilliskin's Lacefire is a 5-mana board wipe that leaves behind a 3/5. 4 Uku's Crusaris, that's our cheap removal tool of choice, and of course 3 Eltonon, you gotta have Eltonon. 1-of Kefella, as a sideways kind of finisher. In our instance, we got 2 Discerns for card draw, as long with... Nope, that's it. Just 3 Heart the Cosmos as well, and 1 Research Grant as our card advantage suite. Counterspells include 3 of Unveil, which is an X counterspell, 1 Deft Deflection, a 2 Cursory Glance, splitting our 2-mana counters, and 3 Unravel Thought, and then 4 removal. And on top of the 4 Uku's Crusaris, 4 main deck Fateful Ascent, and 3 Lunar Awe. Yeah, Lunar Awe, by the way, Lunar Awe is annoying for defeating the other battles because it strips their abilities, but it's perfectly fine at beating passive scales because passive scales abilities all are static abilities, not triggered ones. 1 of main deck Star Squall, in addition to the Eltonons as our main deck board wipe, and 2 passive scales. This is also a passive scales deck. We are defeating it. No countermeasures. We're defeating this honestly. 3 damage at a time. On a base has 2 island, 1 plain, 2 mountain, 3 gleaming hot springs. Actually, surprised we don't see more of these in these 3-color control decks. 1 archive telemetry, 2 lucid basin, 2 meteoric facade, and 1 silent lakefront. So lots of different value lands here. Sideboard is all 2 of than 1 of. Heliolate Fire for Graveyard, Astralink for control, Millicent Fire as a board wipe, End of Mutations for control. This is the last copy of Eltonon. 2 Demutation Failure in case someone brought Survivors of the New World. 1 Repulsion Field for instants and sorcery. Renounce the Worldly for artifacts and enchantments, more Research Grant for control, and Astral Displacer for particular combos. This deck takes up a lot of room on my screen.
It is a lot.
Let me tell you, I'm not going to be able to guess what they have in their hand.
Yeah, if this feels like almost a direct answer in a way to the Esper Prison deck, because the Karaz Lacefire plan does not really work against them. It only gets you so far.
Yeah, what do you even name with your virtualized automatic here? The answer is passive stillness. It's always passive stillness.
I have to assume when on Onomastic you name just like Path of Stillness.
Ooh, Tremor saying Repulsion Field is for Terminal Impact.
Oh.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Although you do need to have more mana than them for that to work.
Yeah, that is true.
Its mana value is the mana amount spent to cast it. So you need to have more mana than them, or else it doesn't actually work. But if it does work, they do die.
Yep. Though, I mean, if the opponent was intending to just do, like, damage to everyone, then they were prepared to die, or to like, deal a bunch of damage to themselves anyways. But you getting control of it, I think, means that you get to decide whether or not it damages everything, which is meaningful.
Yeah, you choose on resolution, which is occasionally relevant.
Yeah. Sweet.
You watch anime, right? Maybe you can read this next deck name.
I have hardly watched any anime in recent memory, but Silver is going to make me say Iviana-san Chi no Maid-Dragon. This is Grixis Iviana. Silver putting up a lot of good results with Iviana at the start of the month, in spite of Council still being at the height of its strength. So 3 copies of Iviana here with looks like 6 sideboard targets. Let's talk about those before we talk about the main or the rest of the sideboard. Iviana can go find Garation the Stormlord. Again, really good with these Adventure Dragons because can just push a ton of damage with Iviana. Draconis Magistus as a face-up counterspell you can grab off of Iviana. Draconis Tyrannos as face-up removal off of Iviana. Asulio, more face-up counter magic. Eltonon as a face-up board wipe that, while there's no white sources in the deck, Iviana's 2 treasures do pay for Path of Stillness. And 1 Rostabal, the Enduring Star here, as just a huge haymaker. If you can downtick Iviana twice, grab Garation, grab Rostabal, the opponent needs to stop Garation or else they are dead. Because that is going to be Garation plus Rostabal, drain you for half of your life, and then swing 16 in the air. That will murder people even harder. The main deck consists of 8 adventure creatures, 3 Lutra Inquisos, for some card selection, as well as specifically card selection that, gets to be at instant speed, so you can hold up your counter spells and then just play this in a pinch when you need to. Draconis Magistus is one of said counter spells, as is Asulio the Watchful Star. A lot of instant speed plays outside of Iviana and the couple sorceries down here. Sorceries being 2 Chart the Cosmos, 3 Terminal Impact, and 4 Nightfall, getting to play all of those good sorcery speed interactive spells that we've got. Plus, Sidraith Charm as an instant or sorcery counterspell stops the adventure spells reliably, stops a lot of the powerful spells that people are slinging this month, and can also stun down aggressive creatures, can trip in a pinch, a little bit of card selection. 3 copies of Deft Deflection and 3 copies of Destructive Ambition, and 3 copies of Thistral Charm, all as potential counterspells, with Deflection being able to stifle in a pinch if you really need it to, Ambition being able to only shut off monocolored spells, but really punish those spells and ping the opponent for 2 in the process, and Thistral Charm having the flexibility of doing, of course, enchantment, artifact, planeswalker stuff, battle stuff, while also having the value of just getting to deal 3 to a creature in a pinch when needed. The token mode, not going to be as relevant. Actually, no, it's still going to be pretty relevant because you can just copy your Nightfall tokens at instant speed. That's pretty good. And then 3 copies of Nether Invocation, as that either draw 2 or draw 1 card, then kill something and gain a bunch of life. 25 lands here between 4 Enigmatic Fen, 2 Gilded Court, 1 each of Island Mountain Swamp, 4 Misty Peak, 3 Murky Path, 3 Rousing Path. A lot of paths here I'm surprised by, but making sure that those early blue sources can be untapped for Chart the Cosmos and for Asulio, I suppose. 2 Sanguine Palace, 2 Meteoric Facade, and then 1 of each of Faulty Server and Lost and Found. So no Primal Fissures. The ERR fetches are where it is at in Silver's mind. Sideboard is, of course, those 6 Wish slots for Iviana, plus 2 Twilight Ambush for aggro, 1 more Terminal Impact, either as just cheap removal or more reach in a pinch, 1 Earthly Absolution as a big way to just sort of dump a bunch of mana into lethal. Can find this off of an Asulio in a pinch, which is pretty nice. 2 copies of Coup d'etat as the backup board wipe of choice after Nightfall. May not have access to Deafening Clarion, but this is a Grixis deck, and while those are pretty rare, they do get to turn to Coup d'etat as their board wipe of choice, which can be pretty nice. And then 3 Primordial Gateway, deciding no graveyard hate is needed, just shut off the sacrifice decks at the sacrifice ability. But of course, no envoys from the sound of things, so Gateway just getting to be a mascot here.
It's a great mascot.
It is.
Okay. Do you want to see more control? We got more control. Itayuko is on Sultai Flash Control. There are many different flavors of control in this meta. As you might expect from the name, this deck has 2 cards that cannot be cast at instant speed. They're both Nightfalls.
Hang on a second. There's another card there. That's sorcery speed.
Another. Oh, Laystone of Growth. Right, Laystone of Growth also counts. Oh, yeah. I love Laystone of Growth here.
It's so
ramp
clever.
in your flash deck, Laystone of Growth. Let's do the little mini version of whatever its name is. The green enchantment that broke standard, whatever that thing was called. This is a much less creature-centric and much more instant-centric version of the Flash Control deck. Although it does still play 3 Florizoa as a nice little cute card advantage engine that is a jellyfish. For the Year of the Jellyfish. Gotta have Interstellar Sage as a big payoff for being a flash deck, as well as Astraling for control. In terms of card advantage, we got 4 Discerns, and maybe 3 Nether Invocations to draw cards. Of course, the Interstellar Sages also help. Got tons of main deck removal in 3 Twilight Ambush, 2 Sovereign's Execution, and the other option on Nether Invocation. Counter spells of Ensorcel, Cursory Glance, Unravel Thoughts, and Main Deck Negate. Golly, Main Deck Negate.
That's a statement.
What does the world come to? we are prepared to counter Passive Scales, 3 Ensorcel, 2 Negate, 3 Unravel Thoughts. Sideboard has 2 Deep Lights Cavern as the GQ Chaos Reigns check land. Other than that, bunch of Shock and Primal Fissure, as well as 3 Lost and Found as the value land of choice. Love to see it. Sideboard has 2 Astralings for control, Gorian Layspire for things of artifacts and enchantments, Twilight Ambush for aggro, Sidwraith Charm for various things, but mainly instants and sorceries, 3 Duress for control, 2 Nightfall for medium-sized creature decks such as PTM, and 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun, because you gotta have Crucible of the Burning Sun.
Yeah. I think one of the big things I'm feeling going through all of these decks is that I wish I'd had more of a plan going into blue decks. I feel like all of these blue, instant speed decks are absolutely going to brutalize me.
PTM is saying that he is glad to have 4 Terminal Impacts, which is true.
Yeah. Terminal Impact, good against counterspells.
I've been told.
Up next is Opakana's red-white Astarian tokens. This is my round 1 opponent, actually, if I understand correctly. This is a red-white tokens build with a bit of a taller end to it. So there is, of course, the Kitsune Matriarchs, but for the actual creature spells, that's where the curve kind of stops, because otherwise we've got 3 Ardor, Forefront of Freedom at 4 mana, 3 Astarian, and 2 Eviviva at 5 mana, and 3 Leonis Excurtus as the 8-drop adventure creature of choice for its Path of Solidarity, 3 and a white instant speed, make 3 1/1s, because otherwise it's 3 Advance of the Sainted March, 4 Flags on High, 4 The Ruins Awaken to go wide in the early game alongside Kitsune Matriarch. That is backed up by 4 copies of Sunwrath Charm here. Gets back Kitsune Matriarch in a pinch. Can also pick off an opposing blocker with 2 or less toughness. Can also just point a couple points of damage to the face, something that cannot be said of Ukius Chrysaris. 3 Terminal Impact for more just, efficient removal. And 3, count them, 3 Casus Belli. Does not mind drawing these in multiples, because if it gets drawn in multiples, the opponent might just pick off the first one and let you play the second. As the anthem of choice. But when this is the anthem alongside Ardor, it's not too bad. Yeah, this is a very interesting take on the tokens build, kind of shedding some of the early game reliance on just, blitzing out the opponent to try and go a little bit taller here, which I think is a really wise call into such a controlling field. Astarion looks especially nice into all of these blue decks. Can't be countered. Make 3 1/1s at combat on each of your turns. That just get to chip in, and 5 toughness dodges those Nightfalls.
Yeah, this is. I mean, yeah, the curve concerns me slightly, but there's a lot of synergy here, and Astarion and Evaviva are quite well positioned.
Absolutely. Mana base is 2 copies of Lakife Observatory, taking a little bit of a risk with 8 mountains, 2 Torrid Paths, and 4 Windbeaten Stones that can all make it come into play tapped. But with the curve kind of reaching a little bit higher, so many of your things want to be played turns 1 and 2, where Lakife Observatory is more likely to be untapped. And then otherwise, you don't mind playing it tapped on turn 3 most of the time. Otherwise, 8 plains, 8 mountains, 2 Torrid Path, 4 Windbeaten Stones, no Primal Fissures. Sideboard is 3 Aegis of Grace to prevent damage that would be dealt to battles you protect. I think mostly just about giving you and your other creatures hexproof. Is just sort of a solid mid-range threat, a little overshadowed by Nightfall, but obviously not every deck is going to be on Nightfall, so not every deck's going to be able to cleanly answer Aegis of Grace there. 3 copies of Shatter the Sigil as the disenchant of choice, because of the alt mode of protecting one of your higher cost creatures from removal. 2 copies of Vow to Conquer as a 3 mana, deal 3 to any target, gain 3 life that can't be countered, gets through these blue decks to remove any key creatures that they might care about, or otherwise just push damage to the dome. Can also kill planeswalkers in a pinch. 3 Doctrine of Cleansing Flames as, of course, a dragon fodder that can check artifacts in a pinch, and then of course the full playset of Crucible of the Burning Sun, because it's Crucible of the Burning Sun. We have got Nyx in chat. Forgot about Temple of Origins while deck building, hence why mono black, secretly blue black control deck doesn't have it. Understood. Got the answer on.
Hard to forget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nyx hasn't been playing the format too much prior to last Eternal season. So while Nyx has been jamming the format and coming up with some truly devious decks in the meantime, it can be an easy card to slip your memory, because if you're searching just like, lands that tap for, blue or black, that's not going to come up with Temple of Origins.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Viola. The channel ping in the middle of the night, your health non-adventure, cast for X equals 2. On Dragon Deer, they want to know you're really OP, but girls, they want to play Giant. Oh, girls, they want to play Giant. Anyways, this is Black, Red, Green mid-range featuring a whole bunch of cards that you have not seen in a while. We are not playing Huskforger. Our curve starts at 3. Our creature curve 3 with Bardo, Ravelon, Forever King, 2 of, and 2 Zaya Record Chaser, because we're going big. Moving up to the 4 drops, we have 2 Future Voice and 2 Precursor to Calamity. Boy, it could be a fun mono base. Future Voice is going to get quite large if we can fill our graveyard. And 2 Precursor Calamity is going to beat face pretty big. Meteor Hellion is another 4-drop, so split across 3 4s. 1 Chief Executive Dante on 5, 1 Hoenn Champion and 1 Warden of Tremors on 6. So just a bunch of stat bomb creatures in the 3 to 6 mana range. 2 Gyama, Scion of Kage. Don't see a ton of great things to discard, but we're gonna mostly be paying the life to this, I guess. To kind of edict our opponent and strip their resources. Liquidate is our removal spell of choice. Hits creatures or planeswalkers, which seems quite relevant. 2 Deadly Dispute. What am I sacking? Oh, what are we sacking to? Oh, the Treasures of Zaya, I guess. Just
Maybe?
card. I don't know what we're sacking this Deadly Dispute, to be honest. We got 3 Nightfalls. Goodness, 3 Nightfalls that kill every card in every creature in our deck except for Warden of Tremors. And Putraglyph, I guess. But I guess you do what you got to do. For work safety violation, as additional rule, I have liked work safety violation if you can swing the mana into just the wide variety of annoying permanents running around right now. Oh, that's what we're sacking a Deadly Dispute. As well as the Treasure of Shigana Manor Burns, 3 of. That's our main thing we're going to be doing on turn 2. And 3 Golden Age. Oh, that's why all of these random creatures. This is a Golden Age deck. Oh, that's sweet. Love Golden Age. Mana base is mostly normal. Got 1 of each path. No Shocklands at all. 4 Primal Fissure, 2 Vishanti District, and 1 of Gallow Sprout Timber. Oh my god. Sideboard has 2 Hungry Blob for artifacts, enchantments, and annoyingly, I was about to say Anomaly. It doesn't hit Anomaly anymore. 2 Oris Cross Crusader cookie in chat for everyone who could off the top of their head tell me what Aura of Cross Crusader does. It's a 4-4 for a trample that when it enters you gain 4 life for aggro, I guess. Also a cooking chat, if you could tell me what Matoros Tyrannos does, that's the card of adventure, 3 mana, each opponent sacrifices 2 non-creature non-impermanents. Actually pretty good into stuff like battles. To Deimos Lessius, that's the Mind Rot adventure creature, the last Nightfall. 2 Archival Storage as the Graveyard Hate of choice, along with Moonlit Gateway as more Graveyard Hate, and Astral Displacer for combo. Viola is doing things. Golden Age. It's Golden Age still has what it takes.
Yeah. Golden Age can be pretty sweet. And all these 3s, all these 4s, all these 5s, all these 1/5s and 6s, they all do progress Golden Age. Same with Liquidate, same with Kiyama. So same with work safety violations. There is a lot of things that can help progress your Golden Age. And it is pretty meaningful to get to Harmony if you can. So
yeah, it's a lot of haymakers. Just nothing but haymakers, really.
yeah. Players are going to be on hard control plans. Give them things to deal with. Give them problems. Make them solve them. Up next, we've got Laurel running it back almost entirely unchanged on the green-white life gain tokens deck. This is the Sunsower Syra deck that was seeing some success last month. Didn't do too well in the GP, but was doing pretty well in leagues from what I saw. And this deck does look like properly spooky. It was one of the decks that was on my radar coming into this GP. 3 copies of Melon and 4 Sunsower, starting off the curve at 1. Up to 2, we've got 2 copies of Aureleth the Sun Shard, playset of Halo Tracer. Up to 3, we've got Commander of the Vow as a 3 of, Aloris the Pathfinder as a 3 of, and Syra Blade of Memory as a 3 of. And then this is finally our second Survivors of the New World deck, up at 4, 3 copies of that. Playset of Cosmic Rebirth here to go get back all of those 3s and 2s in a pinch. This can enable Halo Tracer while you get back Halo Tracer, which is nice. And then enchantments are a playset of Laystone of Being as some more incidental life gain and a way to pay off all of the life gain bombs present in the deck. And then a playset of Honesty to really pay off alongside Syra these token bombs like Survivors of the New World and Commander of the Vow. Mana base is 23 lands across 4 forest, 1 plains. A playset of 4 Revelin to go with those 4 forests. Playsets of Primal Fissures and Temple of Origins and Verdant Sanctum, and then 2 copies of Thicketed Path. Sideboard is 3 copies of Masksmith as a general all-around anti-artifact, anti-enchantment, and kind of just anti-reanimator card. Not as good as some of our other graveyard hates tools for general graveyard hating, but can just do good stuff against specifically reanimator in a pinch. Playset of Looming Psyhawk, because of course people are going to be spitting out tokens and you can say no to that. Playset of Fateful Ascent as the catch-all removal spell of choice. 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun for those more generalized graveyard matchups. And 1 copy of Thorn End Trial to back up the Cosmic Rebirths for matchups where you really just need the extra bit of grind. Yeah. Deck seems pretty sweet.
As the name implies, this is almost entirely unchanged. The mana base has been shuffled a little. There's a shuffling of the exact numbers on the 3-drops, and there's changes in the sideboard. There used to be 4 Clash at Dawn Bloom Grove. That's the destroy non-creature, non-land permanent. And also, there used to be 4 Thorn and Trial on the sideboard.
Yeah.
Now there's Looming Psyhawk, which I think is probably better.
That makes sense. Looks like we've got some more sentiments from Nyx. Nyx says, for Epid's deck, Tameo is the win condition. After the game grinds to a halt, you can Tameo +1 to delete your opponent's deck. Oh, right, because Tameo, her first +1 is target player mills, like 2 cards for each loyalty counter on her.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of mill.
It is pretty significant. Yeah, target player mills 2 cards for each loyalty counter on Tameo. Dang. Yeah, that is a pretty... who needs Casimir's? That is a much faster way of just removing the deck. Where's 119 bats when you need them?
Yeah. Although, Nick's also saying that it has the opponent can cast only 1 Philly Churn Plant is pretty awful against decks that are all instants. Which,
yes.
Yeah, that does sound rough.
It is certainly the kind of strategy that I hope deals with the prison deck, so I don't have to.
Great.
Really wanted to find a way to get Vow and 1 Ayeshi main board, but wasn't sure how to manage that.
Yeah, the mana base is 4 is a little of a stretch these days. 3 is doable. 4 is a stretch.
Yeah.
All who wander is worried that their opponents won't be able to figure out how to play decks against them, or wouldn't be new to the format, would be aware how to schedule matches. So in case you're having that problem, it says right in their desk name, you can reach them on Discord. This is a black-red mid-range deck. I think I'll be here all night. We've starts out with 4 Rooftop Link, 2 Ignited Soul to shrink the game and discard stuff we don't need. 4 Exorcist of Errors, the hero we all deserve. 4 Reconstructed Flayer, a 2-drop that can be cast from the graveyard if a player discarded a card, which Rooftop Link and Ignited Soul will do quite easily. Great thing to discard, turn 1 Rooftop Link, turn 2 attack, discard this, immediately cast it. That sounds great to me. 4 Fabricated Anomaly to turn these dinky 1 and 2 power creatures into real threats. And Inner Ring's Pupil after we've stripped our opponent's hand to take over the game. Liquidate is the removal spell of choice, but it's the foil version this time, along with 4 Terminal Impact against all of these dirtily controlled decks. 3 Manifest Not for card advantage that takes advantage of all this discard. Also, good ways to discard cards are 3 Shigane Manor Burns, promo version, and 3 Panic, non-promo version. It seems like a rock solid kind of discard, kind of themed black-red mid-range deck with a whole ton of interaction. Mana base has 4 Erosive Path, 4 of each of the usual suspects, 3 Mountain, 4 Swamp, no value lands, only business. Nick's saying that the prison deck is, quote, like unlosable versus aggro, mid-range, and sorcery speed control, which sounds concerning.
Yeah.
Sideboard has 2 Twilight Ambush for aggro, 3 Duress for control, 3 Frag for artifacts, 3 Nightfalls. Nightfalls in the sideboard for go wide decks, 2 Golden Blooms, and 2 Primordial Gateway, because we can't play Crucible because we care about our own graveyard.
Yeah. This is my kind of deck. Like, if I hadn't been so paranoid about having to beat Transcendent Council, I probably would have started drifting towards trying to do something a little more top end like this, because this is this is still very much in the vein of the looter stuff that I love. Getting to squeeze out some of the more like looter matters things out of the way for just more generalized good cards. Rooftop Slink, Inner Rings Pupil, Reconstructed Flare is a sweet card. I am not 100% sure how much I love it, but it is just good value, and sometimes, especially against all these control decks, value might be exactly what you need.
And this deck is playing a lot of Renegades, playing every single Renegade it can except Temple of Origins.
Yeah. When you gotta use them. And then last but not least, Lee's only some portal malfunctions here. This is a toy we haven't seen in a while. There is a portal in here. This seems to be a base green red like red splash like red green sort of mid-range ramp deck.
Ramp?
We haven't seen it in a little bit, but Roar Buffer Exec, still pretty darn good card. Warden of Tremors, still a pretty darn good card. Lightning Warmonger, pretty good at getting both of those into play. So playset of Huskforger Acolyte starts off the curve. Playset of Kinox Ley Pillar jumps us up to 2 alongside 3 Venture Capitalist. 3 copies of Lightning Warmonger are at the 3-drop slot on the curve. Cannot be super great with Aurora, but Aurora as a 3 of can be pretty meaningful to get back a bunch of lands that might wind up in the graveyard over the course of the game through things like Kinox Ley Pillar, and can also just surveil 3 and get any lands you surveil that way. 3 Warden of Tremors, much better with Lightning Warmonger. Makes your first spell each turn cost red, green less. Yet extra land drops, get to impulse a ton of cards whenever you have a land enter. This can just completely spiral the value equation out of control in your favor. And then full playset of Ursus Majora as the other turn 2 play in this creature suite. Path of Prosperity is just Growth Spiral or Explore, just one of those 2-mana draw card, put a basic land into play. We have seen those see a lot of play before, but Ursus Majora had not been getting a ton of respect as of yet. Now it is getting a little bit here.
Only 7 basics, so you better hope you draw one.
Only 7 basics, so you better hope you draw one. But there's another thing that's not awful off of Lightning Warmonger. You get to just jam this. Yeah, it gains Decayed, but if you can just jam that, follow it up with like an Ardent Rise, swing 11 with Trample and Haste, you don't really need to have it for another turn at that point. That's backed up by 2 Terminal Impact as a bit of pinpoint removal and some reach as needed. 2 Vows Reflection here to get some additional value through these Kinox Ley Pillars, Venture Capitalists. Can't do as much with, say, Lightning Warmonger because you can't really pick up a creature that has attacked and has decayed, but can still do some cool things. Might be able to pick up Warden of Tremors that you've rushed out with Lightning Warmonger once you've gotten all the value you care for off of it. 2 Crumbling Tower as additional value off of those landfall triggers. And then there is an artifact package here to go with the Venture Capitalist. 1 of each of Stella's Journal, Root Fossil, Golden Bloom of the Silenced, and Malfunctioning Portal, as well as 3 Ring of Promised Vows as additional ramp alongside Huskforger and Ursus Majora. Mana base, of course, has those 7 basics across 6 forests, 1 mountain. We've got a whole bunch of fetches, 8 of them, count 8 of them, 4 Primal Fissure, 3 Ardent Rise, and 1 Warpway Rings as another fetch for those Venture Capitalists. There's Urban Jungles as a playset and Temple of Origins as a playset. We have chat note from Lee here. Ursus Majora and Aurora are pulling in different directions for the deck. Originally had black mana and far spicier options, but I cut it because I couldn't figure out the list in the last 10 minutes. I think ultimately, cutting back on colors when you're kind of pressed for time and just needing to solidify a deck, like black brings a lot of good options to the table, but this just, like, you kind of don't necessarily need it. You can just make sure that you've got a little more mana consistency here overall. And while there is going to be, of course, that problem with Ursus Majora versus only 7 basics, 8 fetches, also putting a lot of pressure on those basics, Ardent Rise doesn't always have to be a fetch, can be a bit of utility removal when you've got a good creature in play and need to kill something on the opponent's board. And Ursus Majora in a deck with Lightning Warmonger has real value beyond just Path of Prosperity, so it's not the end of the world if you don't have a particular incentive to cast the adventure. And worst case scenario, this is an adventure that still just cycles for 2 mana and stores Ursus Majora as an actual threat for later on. Moving on to the sideboard here, we've got 2 Purifier of Dawnbloom Grove as some artifact and enchantment removal. A little awkward with the reprieve because I feel like a lot of the best things to pick off are going to be sitting well above 1 mana, but this does get some incidental value against things like specifically Leystones. I am remembering that name, right? Right? Yeah, Leystones.
Yep,
Specifically good against
yep,
Leystones. And can get some value alongside the Thou's Reflection plan with your things like Kinox Ley Pillar and Venture Capitalist. To Rozon Ley Pillar as a 3-mana deal 3 on a defender with a 0/3 stat line. Not half bad with Thou's Reflection and Reprieve in a pinch. I have almost come very close to playing Rozon Ley Pillar a couple times, so this is actually really sweet. PTM says turn 3 Warden is a terrifying prospect. Lee is glad they can instill fear. Third, Vow's Reflection over here in the sideboard. 1 click as anti-token tool. 2 more Crumbling Tower for when the value is just desperately needed. 3 Crucible of the Burning Sun for anti-graveyard utility. 3 Primordial Gateway as additional anti-aristocrats tools. And then 1 Advance of Fire and Faith. If I had to guess, as a bit of a split here, both between having the like flexible 2-for-1 when you really need it against aggro, and also not an awful thing to just have as the passive battle defeated creatures you control have haste. Because again, Ursus Majora with a fetch land followed up behind it does a lot of damage out of nowhere. And Warden of Tremor is also great beneficiary of that haste. So yeah, that is going to wrap up our last deck of the GP Decklist stream. Look at that. We did it in an hour and 45 minutes just about.
Oh, it's so
We're responsible with our time.
I don't know if I've ever seen I've seen GPs that are dominated by like 1 card more, but this is like different. It's not dominated by 1 card, it's dominated by 1 like archetype.
Yeah, there is so much control in this field. I don't think I could actually point to the last time I remember control being this prominent and this dominant across the field. I know we've had top cuts where they drift towards the top of the crop. Definitely last year in Chikyu season, month 1 especially.
Harbor Mail.
Yeah, Harbor Mail definitely had a lot of control drifting up to the top, but there was a lot of non-control stuff floating around too. This month, though, like everyone seems to either be playing control or trying to beat control. And so this is going to result in some particularly grindy matchups. Folks better buckle in because there are going to be some long rounds, no round timers to speak of here.
Everyone be sure to book like a solid 2 hours for each of your matches this month.
Oh, for sure.
I think was it last month a match broke hour 4?
I think so. It was like it got pretty crazy.
So yeah, let's all try to play quickly.
Yep.
For the sake of all sleep schedules.
Alrighty. If we want to take a moment, we could talk about the round 1 matchups and which way we think they're going to go.
Sure. Do you want to like alternate for those?
We can kind of just back and forth talk about like our thoughts on this matchup. So, do we want to start with me, or do we want to start like back into the bracket with like Caillou and Ricky?
Let's start with you.
All right.
You have 3 Looming Sawhawks in your sideboard.
I do have 3 Looming Sawhawks in my sideboard. I also have Eltonon, where I can play X0 into all of these token spells. But this is one of those things where I mentioned Opakana kind of having the natural answer to Eltonon in a way through a lot of the token value bombs sitting up higher on the curve between Ardor, Astarion, and Eviva. So while
your
I am
Welcome
going to be able to
Evictions are going to
sleep
be
away
taxed.
tokens, yeah.
The question is like, well, you need Welcome Eviction for the giant haymakers, Ardor, Astarion, and Eviva. I think the random tokens you can mostly deal with just if you're gumming up the ground, but those big haymakers are what you have to worry about.
Absolutely, and it's going to be the thing that I am most paranoid of through that match. I feel,
or you land a Psyhawk and their deck doesn't function.
Yeah. Games 2 onward, I just drop a Psyhawk, which I can have more help finding off of Rejuvenation Session, and then their plan to get around that is to have one of their terminal impacts for Psyhawk, but that's about, or I guess one of their Cassus Bellies, one of their Sunwrath Charms. They have 10 removal spells in the main for Psyhawk. That's not nothing. They've got 3 Shatter the Sigils, 2 Vow to Conquers, Three Doctrine of Cleansing Flames. They can have a lot of ways to check Psyhawk, so Psyhawk might not be a real plan.
Anyway, still bring it in, but yes.
It's still relevant, can still take them off of some token effects, but they've got a lot of checks for it.
Epid, who has positioned themselves as the villain's right-hand man, has run into the hero we deserve. The worst possible matchup, it's Sultai Flash Control. Worst possible matchup, I guess, would be more creature-based. But yeah, Itai is going to really hope to keep all of this nonsense off the board and close out the game before the lock can still work. It's just much more convoluted.
Absolutely.
Against Flash Control.
I will say one card I am particularly interested to see how well it will perform, not the Astraling, in fact, the opposite end of the creature scale. Florazoa's activated ability looks really good when under a Silent Lab effect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Florazoa could easily become a must-answer threat here. Absolutely, but hopefully, like Itai looks favored at very least here.
Yes, and given the fear that is instilled in our hearts by the power of Nyx's brewing, sorry, Epid, I am rooting against you here.
Yeah,
it's been over a year since Itai last won a GP. Let's see an Itai sweep. I don't want to suffer for an Itai sweep, but it'd be cool to see Itai get a nice clean sweep here, little over a year after their last GP win.
Mm-hmm. The next matchup, we have two Flash control decks going head-to-head. These are very similar lists. They're both kind of on the creature-heavier side of the scale. My instinct is that Magma has the better of it with the slightly lower curve, but it's very similar. It's very close.
Yeah, I think the one thing that is the matchup breaker here is Sylvia. If Zangi can stick a Sylvia through Magma's interaction, while I think Magma is more equipped to go wide, Sylvia is a pretty comfy board wipe in a pinch, and if you can just kind of pop this after your opponent might have already gone to combat even, you can just get rid of their full board. Sylvia will not have to worry about being at 1 loyalty, and then you can just start upticking her to get some additional mana while developing things, or untapping your threats after you attack so you still have blockers. Can absolutely snowball the board away from Magma. But I do think without Sylvia, things like Zymoth, Windreader, Florazoa can absolutely start to steamroll the game in their favor. This will be an interesting match to keep an eye on. We've got Lee and Crush up next. Lee, of course, on that red-green ramp Warmonger deck. It's nice to see Lightning Warmonger getting some love here and there, because Warmonger plus Warden of Tremors is such a clean package, but I feel like it's so few and far between when we get to be treated to this card seeing play. I feel like Warmonger is one of those cards that is still just deeply underexplored, because there are so many interesting, explosive things that this card is capable of that we just haven't really necessarily thought about. I've been thinking more and more about Warmonger with adventure creatures in specific, and we're going to get to see a little bit of how that works with Ursus Majora here.
Indeed.
Though Lee is going to have some troubles, because one of the things that I experienced was I was a little suspect of Crush's deck last time, and then I matched up into it in round 1. Or sorry, I think round 2 maybe. I matched up into I think I matched up into Crush round 1, and despite being on an aggro deck just trying to rush down the opponent as quick as possible, this does put a lot of bodies on board really quickly. And there's just some solid incidental hate through things like Looming Psyhawk, Faithline Marshal just able to spiral the board out of control, Commander of the Vow able to spiral out of control. No tokens, I think, that matter for Psyhawk, but that just means that Psyhawk becomes a free card to board out after game 1, while I don't know if Lee has as free of a sideboard plan there. So we'll have to see which one that matchup goes to. Up next is you
Lee
versus
has one
Cat.
click.
Lee does have one click.
Yeah. I've been the less greedy than some other control decks. I've been respectful of aggro, and I still have 4 Deafening Clarion, 2 Elton on 2 Clashador's Cross, plus 4 Ukus. So I am if any control deck is prepared to deal with this stuff, I hope I am.
Yeah, and for the rest of us,
card.
The rest of us control players, definitely don't mind you being the one matched up into these aggro decks round 1, because if you're going to have the most favorable chance, then you might knock them out of having to deal the other 1-0 control decks having to deal with it. So
yeah, well, not guaranteed. Consume the Divine remains a scary card if even just one creature manages to survive, it Consuming Mind can get things out of Deafening Clarion range, and make it so I have to answer every threat that comes down after that.
Absolutely.
Um, uh, Luckily, I have split. Onomastic probably named Clarion, although luckily I have split answers, so it's not that bad. Uh, Meanwhile, on my side, I just got 3 shock, so not the 3 shocks, 2 Faithful Sense, 3 Golden Bloom, so not the greatest impact sideboard stuff.
Yeah. Up next, we've got Laurel versus Nyx. So the green white life gain tokens deck versus mono black, quote unquote, this time around. I do like the black deck's chances. I think so much interaction for these big go wide boards. But Nyx is on. Or sorry, not Nyx. Laurel is on Survivors of the New World, which is really good into these Nightfall decks. So not without options into this matchup. Probably not as well positioned as the other green white deck of the field, because not as many cards are resistant to something like Nightfall. But I do think Laurel has some real tools here between Survivors, Cosmic Rebirth. Honesty can just help them explode a brand new board out of nowhere after a board wipe. Aloris replaces itself after a board wipe. So there's real options here to get through all of that.
Okay. Next up, we got Tremor versus PTM. PTM on that red kind of aggro mid-range beatdown deck. Tremor on the variety package, Jeskai control, but crucially, 3 Lunar Awe, 4 Uku's Crusaris, 3 Eltanon. Not a huge amount of answers for aggro in Tremor's decks,
There's also
and notably
4 Fateful Ascents.
no 1 mana removal, which is
Yeah,
important.
that is the big kicker there. And Starsquall as the only board wipe besides Eltanon. Eltanon not super great against PTM's deck from the look of things, and Starsquall, you know, it can pick off the Calamity Cats, the Red Hot Riders, the Dark Sun Migrants, Cash Thrashers. But as we start to get up those curves, and as Fabricated Anomaly starts to do its job, and same with Calamity Cat, that Starsquall might really struggle to pick things off.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Do you think
Kumrak,
Bai has a chance against Scribble?
I've been keeping tracking Bai's stats. It's a very low elo player by this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Uh, Kumrak is doing Kumrak things against Silver. Um, I've played so many control decks against Kumrak over the years. Um, you do need kind of that. You do need that early interaction, and you need that big game taking over threat at the end. And Silver does kind of have that. Sistral Charm can beat up Exorcists and Inner Rings Pupil. Nether Invocation can beat card advantage, and Iviana is exactly the kind of endgame where if you can, the problem with Iviana is it does absolutely nothing on the turn you play it. So gonna have to really set things up so Iviana can live the turn. But if it can, that is the kind of overwhelming value that can go over the top of Kumrak's very 1-for-1 and 2-for-1 focused deck.
I don't even necessarily know if I agree with the sentiment that Iviana does nothing the turn you play it, because you don't have to do the down tick. You can +1 and, you know, pick off a Meteor Hellion, pick off a Husk Forger Acolyte. There's not a ton of things that die to the 2 Ephemeros Redeemer dies. You know, 2 damage, not a ton for some of these threats, but it can absolutely chip off something that might be sticking around on board and just buy a little bit more room, because if you can untap with Iviana, you might not need the second wish. You can just wish for something. If you have land drop turn 6, that is any 8 mana card out of your sideboard. You can slam Guration plus a 5-drop or a 6-drop. So you could go Guration into another Iviana there. You could go for Draconos Magistus or Tyrannos and cast it immediately. You can go for Eltanon and then just wipe the mid-range deck's board. There's absolutely value to just upticking with Iviana in this matchup. Not as much as would be against decks with less toughness across their creatures, but still not priced into that downtick. And then if you uptick, Iviana is a 5 loyalty planeswalker. And any damage pointed at Iviana is damage not pressuring Silver to death. So
Yeah, I mean, you're always just so short on resources, I feel like, against Kumrak. Um, Like like Path of Scale, for example, the card I really like against Kumar. It lets you kind of pull out of the death spiral, um, start spinning a value engine that can outvalue them. And I see Giviana 5 is kind of ambitious sometimes against Doomrock, but if you can
That's
get there,
absolutely fair.
you can hold it together.
There are also some main deck cards that are a little awkward. Asulio, Sidrath Charm looking a little awkward here. Sidrath Charm, the
Oh
stun
yeah.
mode, the tap and stun, definitely a real mode here for Sidrath Charm. But like the counter target non-creature spell not going to be as key against Kumrock. Can be good for like stopping a Selise in a pinch, because Selise could be absolutely backbreaking in this matchup.
Oh yeah.
The Nightfalls and Terminal Impact's also pretty relevant here, so it'll be definitely a matchup to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah. Next up, we have Viola, who's on that Jund mid-range, just a long name, versus All Who Wander, who's on black-red. So this is just like solid mid-range slugfest. I think it's going to be a long match, but Viola's going to win 2-1 off the back of a very large Putrigoid.
I wasn't sure if you'd have seen the results. Yes, indeed. Let me go ahead and refresh this now. Suspense lost. Viola has in fact won 2-1 against All Who Wander in this first round here.
Yes.
And was in fact a 10-11 Putrigoid. That is crazy. Yeah, I mean, creature, instant, sorcery, enchantment, land. You don't even need the Planeswalker. Pretty good. And then Caillou versus Ricky. I feel like
Caillou.
this is a matchup I haven't seen in ages. I haven't seen Caillou and Ricky play each other. I don't know the last time. Like maybe Worlds 2024 off the top of my head.
Caillou has a lot of the cards you want against Reanimator. 3 Crucible in the sideboard, Unravel Thoughts for the big plays, Clash at Aura's Cross. This deck doesn't really care that much about its permanents a lot of the times. You can, once they reanimate Privileged Escalation, just sack all your permanents and then clean up the board with Clash at Aura's Cross.
Yeah.
But an early reanimation could certainly catch Caillou off guard. Sistral Charm does not have good targets. And this reanimation deck can randomly end up with a ton of mana from stuff like Fester Defluvian and Shigana Manor Burns, so the quenches can miss sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the face of a Fester Defluvium, Quench it's hard for Quench to miss. Because you just
they can often like leave up mana for it and then like get the value. It's tough. Although on Ricky's side, Threadripper and Relay Exodus look and even Coordinated Shot look pretty bad pre-board, and probably going to have to do the transformative sideboard once the Crucibles come in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised for the transformative sideboard to be relevant here, just because of how good Caillou looks to be positioned against Privilege Escalation. You know, why lean on Privilege Escalation when the opponent doesn't really care about the enter trigger, doesn't really care about the 11-13? Just get these out of here, get some Exorcists, get some competitive hedonists, some Inner Rings pupils in here, and beat them to death.
Bounce it with Unravel Thoughts. That's miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, Caillou looks to be very favored in game 1, but Ricky is definitely going to be putting the pressure on in games 2 and 3. So I would not count Ricky out by any measure.
Oh, yeah, although unfortunately, all of Ricky's like sideboard gonna bring it in threats, they do all in fact die to Deafening Clarion.
I mean,
except for Lifehacker.
Lifehacker doesn't. Hedonist doesn't always. Does if you like curve it out immediately, but if you're just kind of like stockpiling some mana with Shigani Manor Burns, or you know,
and there's anomalies. There's play to it, but Clarion might come in for the kind of double sideboard juke. Not good against Ricky's main deck, but good against Ricky's sideboard if Ricky anticipates Caillou's sideboard.
Yeah, so definitely going to be some mind games going there.
So the Crucibles aren't good against Ricky's sideboard.
Yeah. Going to be some interesting mind games to see there if they come out. And we will. I have to imagine we'll get to see at least one side of this matchup in the media channel, if not both.
Ooh,
been a long time since we've gotten treated to a Caillou gameplay video, but maybe Caillou, you're out there. Maybe you'll treat us to video from your perspective on this matchup.
Okay, we got. Yes, it's getting close to my bedtime. This is a interesting field. We're competing for the second to last Worlds invite. That's coming up quickly. Best of luck for competitors in this and also in the Eternal Exhibition and also Field Test. I see a lot of field testers who have managed to take time out of their field testing days to participate in this GP.
We are keeping ourselves super busy.
Yeah, we sure are.
And then there are also some field testers who are being a little more responsible with their time, not naming names.
Hey, Prov, where's Prov?
I was about to say Prov specifically, but there are other folks who have popped in here and there who are not participating because of field tests. Stasis also came to mind. So to the folks that missed out on this tournament, for field test reasons, for celebrating Voyager's inaugural tournament, which Decklists lock in under 24 hours over there. Folks who are putting their priorities over to MSEM or who are just gearing up to try and put more energy towards Revolution Eternal. There is a lot to love in the competitive custom Magic space this month. So to everyone participating in those things rather than this, we miss you, we see you, we love you. And for all of us here in Grand Prix Kaina City, good luck and pray for swifter matches.
That will be the question. Maybe a card will eat a nerf for like Sensei's Divining Top reasons, making matches take too long.
Yeah. Alrighty, I think that is going to be it for us here. Hope you all have had a blast with this stream, and I can't wait to dive into this field. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the Revolution chat. Alrighty, stream is over.
Indeed.